Hey, do you like cold water? Me too. I want to thank the sponsor, The Coldest Water. This thing will hold your water cold for 36 hours or hot for 12 hours, which is pretty good. So if you want to win one of these, there'll be a link in the description. Or if you just want to buy one, there's also a link in the description. All right. Ben Sullins, welcome to my podcast, man. It's been a long time coming. I've been inviting you for months now. You've been ignoring me. What's up with that?
El gusto es mío. Yeah, I'm happy to be here. Well, I wasn't sure if this was like a spam thing or whatever, I was like, who the hell is reaching out? Like why doesn't Jehu reach out to me? And I'm like, oh, shit. So then
is that
I think
it is?
you...
Wait a minute. No,
I think
I tried
you
first
finally
reaching
messaged
out.
me. You
No,
finally
it's the
messaged me, and I was
opposite.
like, oh, okay.
It's the other way around. I try to reach out to you directly, and then you always ignore me, and then I send Brian after you. I seek Brian after you, and then you're like, hey, I made it happen. He goes, I go, what?
Well,
I go, maybe it's just me then.
yeah. Well, estoy aquí. Listo.
Well, welcome to the Jay Garcia podcast, man. For those who don't know you, if there's
Yeah.
anyone out there, because you're kind of a big shot.
I wouldn't say that.
Yeah, you've just rebranded, right?
Sort of, yeah. Yeah, so I changed my YouTube channel name from Teslanomics to just Ben Sullins because, well, there's more to the EV and sustainable tech world than just Tesla, although they are doing like kind of the dopest stuff usually. But I just felt it was time to kind of break out of that shell a little bit. And with the pandemic hitting and all that, it was one of those things where I just felt like a total jackass. Like, yo, nobody can, like, y'all are dying, getting laid off from your jobs. Check out this $80,000 car. Woo! And I just felt like a total dick. So I was like, this is dumb. Like, I can do better and help other people in other ways that don't fit this name, this brand. So now it mostly still focused on EVs and anything else kind of really cool in the sustainable tech space, but also do stuff like personal finance and just like, I'm not an expert in any of this, but I've learned a few lessons and had a few lumps in my own experience. I'm trying to like help people avoid those as well. So just kind of wanted to help people as much as I can with whatever things I've learned online now.
Yeah. So Teslanomics is because you were centering in the economics of the whole new genre, but now with Ben Sullins, it's just you, and you do several. Yeah, that was the thing that I did a long time ago, right? I used to, because my channel has been Jehu Garcia, and so Jag 35 was like Jehu Alcaraz Garcia, and then 35 was just 35 millimeter adapters. That's like the 35.
It's how old you were 10 years ago when you started
And that's
the channel.
about how old. And that's just kind of I didn't meant for that to happen by coincidence, but so I've been, and I know that people always complain when you change your strategy or you change your content around, and people are like, hey, this is not what you do. They try to tell you what you do.
Yeah. I mean, when I first, the whole economics thing. So I'm a huge economics nut. Like all the podcasts I listen to are just like the most boring jobs report update, blah, blah, blah. Like I'm just fascinated with economics is this thing that basically is the underlying force between everything we do. And it's mostly invisible, and people never really think about it. Kind of like I was using an analogy like language, right? So you speak Spanish and English. I've been learning Spanish for 5 years, but unless you really sat down and tried to learn like why reflexives are the way they are, or what an indirect object pronoun is, you probably don't know that. You just speak it because you just know it. And so I feel like economics is a similar thing, that like there's reasons why all these things work the way they work, but most people just go about their business and never take time to think about it. So I'm fascinated with that, and that was the first video that got me into Tesla, was explaining the economics of saving money from charging versus gas, essentially. And so I was like, the thing I encourage anyone that's new to YouTube or wants to create a channel or whatever is to bring a fresh perspective. Like bring whatever you had in your life experience or education or whatever it is that makes you, bring that to a space that you're interested in, and that can hopefully be a fresh perspective, something that people will enjoy and appreciate. And so that was my perspective very, very early on, was like, just looking at the numbers. And every video was like charts, graphs, like everything was like I even had like I wrote it down one time like, all right, every video needs to have data, blah, 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 and I need to create every chart and I need to do all this stuff. And that's all great. But then I also wanted to do things like share my Model 3 delivery experience where I like got to go pick up my car and just share that with people. And I did those videos as just kind of like whatevers. Like those are like, no one's going to watch this because they're here for the charts and graphs. That was wrong, right? People wanted all of it. So when I changed the name, now I still do a lot of data heavy videos. I would say those are more intense than they were before. Like I spend weeks researching them, and I actually hired a researcher and be like, I send her off on a topic and she'll go pull all kinds of data and stuff. And then I churn on it for a while and then I come up with something. So those are like less often, but they're more intense. And then in between there, it's a lot of more, I guess, like lifestyle content, you would say, like, doing a range test in a car or showing the difference between this car and that car, or, just kind of helping spread this love around sustainable tech and sustainable living. So yeah, it's like I've evolved, I feel like, and I get it a little bit from, I love Felix, PewDiePie, but I love when he's Felix, when he's not, PewDiePie or whatever, when he's like, when he's talking about YouTube, because I'm like, dude, you're so fucking smart. Like you are so like he's such a good dude. So if you listen to him talk about it, he started out as a gamer, but now he rarely does that. And yeah, there's people that are mad at him, but his whole thing is like, if he forced himself to do that one thing forever, he would get super burnt out on it and people would be tired of watching it. So every few years, every so often, you have to kind of evolve and take it in a new direction. Otherwise, you're going to lose interest and it'll show. Like people won't care.
Yeah,
so that's kind of the evolution here,
Yeah. I think it takes a special kind of person to just keep doing the same thing over and over for like year after
Doug
year,
DeMuro.
Right?
Do you know Doug DeMuro?
No.
Do you know of him though? Have you seen his channel?
Who's Doug?
What? Oh my God. Okay, he's an OG. Like 10 years or more on YouTube. He actually just moved to San Diego recently. And he does these car reviews.
Oh, okay. Oh, I think I've seen some of his reviews. Yeah, I just didn't know that was him.
Dude, and like if you go watch a video from him 10 years ago, and you go watch a video from him, a week ago, it's the exact same thing.
No
every
way.
single video starts with him standing behind the car, doing this, talking about the quirks and features. And he films it all 100% himself. He edits it on iMovie. And what does he have now? 3 million subscribers? And like every video is like multiple millions of views. And I'm just like, holy shit. Like I so admire his ability to just stay the course for so long. Like it's incredible now, but I'm like, no one else would do that. Like,
no, that takes a special person. I have to pivot like drastically every 5 years or so. I'm like,
you get bored, right?
This. Yeah.
And if you're making, I'm just guessing, I don't know. I have met Doug. We had dinner one time, and he lives here in San Diego, so we've hung out. But so I don't know this to be true, but I would assume he's making well over $100,000 a month in just AdSense. Because his videos are so nuts. Yeah. And he still does it all 100% himself. I mean, are you kidding me? Like, dude, when I was making like $500 a month, I'm like, yo, hire somebody. I don't want to do this shit.
Yeah. There are definitely different strategies to going at attacking a problem or reaching a goal, right? I just heard last night I was here working on shop super late, and I was listening to a podcast. Right, Joe Rogan in the background, and then he was telling his guests like, "Oh yeah, no, try to stay simple, don't get an assistant." He goes, "Don't get an assistant, because then," and then he gives all these references of assistants that went wild and almost tried to kill their bosses. And of course, that's not the case. Like most assistants are good, but he was saying like that means you're doing too much and you're diluting yourself too much, right? At least in his philosophy. And I was like, oh, yeah, I'm kind of like that. I don't have an assistant. I don't have employee. Well, now I kind of have a couple of people that I pay to do stuff, but they're not officially employees. I came from that, Jag 35, which we had like over 20 employees, and that was a nightmare because I couldn't really.
Yeah, that sucks.
keep my finger on it, how I was doing in business. I didn't know enough about it.
Yeah, yeah.
Right?
A friend of mine, Paul Jarvis, has this great book called Company of One. And he talks a lot about that. Basically, doing less. That was my theme for 2020. Little did I know that it would literally be forced upon us. But the concept of like I went and Porsche let me drive the Taycan, whatever. And I was hanging out with there were some other folks there. I think Nikki from Transport Evolved was there, and a couple other people. And they were asking me about, like, how big is your team or whatever. And at the time, I was like, it's just me, and I have a guy that edits, like 2 out of the 4 or 5 videos a month I do or something like that. And they're like, really? That's it? I've got like 5 people or whatever. And I'm like, yeah, I don't. They're like, how are you doing it? I'm like, I just do less. Yeah. I don't put out 7 videos a week. I put out 1, maybe. And I think knowing your sanity level, like how much, like if I was 25 years old, no kids, none of that, hell yeah, like let's go, man. I'm going to be cranking this out. But at my stage in life with everything else I have going on, it's just not worth it. It doesn't make sense, So I think
priorities
it's
change,
hard.
definitely, right?
Yeah, and just getting to know yourself, and that's why like I love YouTube, because I can control it myself. Like I can literally do it 100% myself. I do have an editor that's full-time now, and I have a person that works on brand deals, but that's all like part-time work. That's not like they're full-time employees and we're like, I'm dictating their schedules. I'm not being a manager to them. They're, like other companies essentially. And so anyways, with all of that, like even some friends of mine got approached, one from Discovery, one from Netflix, to do shows, and they both turned them down. Because they were like, this is stupid. Like, why the hell would I? Like, sure, you're going to pay me $100,000 for, 3 months, which is good. But in the same time, I'm just talent at this point. I'm just on screen. You guys figure the rest of this shit out. And that's not fun. For me, what's fun is the whole craft of it, From the expensive gear to how to edit to how to find B-roll, do transitions, animations, sound design. Like that to me is the craft of it, and I love it. So YouTube is a special thing, but it's very easy to get like ahead of your skis.
Yeah,
and
I think if you're inexperienced, that's really easy. Like if you've gone around, been the rodeo twice or whatever they say, right? Then you're a little bit aware of that. Like one of the things that this might be interesting because you're about the whole economics thing. Like the thing that I hated when I had a bunch of employees is that I didn't know if I was making money. It was too complex. Like there was too many sources coming, too many sources going, you know, and I'm like, are we making money? And I used to worry. And then at one point I'm like, who cares? Who knows? Like I don't have enough time to figure it out. Like literally this business was growing so fast, right? This time around, I'm doing it completely different. I'm like every month I go on balance and I'm like, am I actually making money? And I'm like, whoa. So let me ask you something. Maybe because you know maybe about business more than me, probably. So, if a business is profitable, like what I know, different industries have different settings, right? Or different, they operate differently, right? But like if you have a business that makes 50% profit, so that means like out of every dollar that you sell, 50 cents is profit. Is that that's normal
great.
Or is that like good? Or
well,
is that bad?
It
Like,
varies.
That?
So the at the high level, probably the distinction, if you were to ask a real economist, you'd probably have to look at the nature of the business, right? Because you have essentially goods and services. So goods would be anything that is a physical product.
Yeah.
Right? Anything that's not physical would be a service. Even like YouTube videos would be considered a service because it's not a physical thing. So it depends on that's probably the first distinction, because on the goods side, generally speaking, your profit margins are going to be a lot lower.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh. I'm actually operating backwards then.
Well, okay, but think about it like this. So I used to work at Facebook, and at Facebook, I remember walking around one day being like, this shit is not sustainable. Like there are 7 restaurants on campus that are all fucking incredible, like some of the best food in the Bay Area, and it's all free for everybody on campus all day long. And I'm just going, no shit. Like, no way. Like, how can you afford this? There's 5,000 of us here. You're feeding us. You're giving us all this crazy stuff. And then I looked at the balance sheet because I was doing the dashboard for the CFO, and I looked at it, and I looked at the revenue per employee, and it was something like $40 million a year per employee is how much Facebook was making.
Whoa.
You know, and this was the early days. And so I'm looking at it going, now y'all motherfuckers need to step this up. Like, this looks like shit, you know. But if you think about
Where's
a company,
my Tesla?
yeah. If you think about a company like that, like they're a service-based company, and you know we were at the time like 5,000 people with like 20 billion in revenue. So it's insane the kind of return. Now, there are other costs than labor, of course, especially for them, like basically computers, like servers running the site. But all of that, like it's their profit margins are just through the roof. That's why companies like Google or you know YouTube, all these they make huge profit margins.
Well, what do you think it is out of every dollar that they sell? Like, what is the percentage you think? If you had to guess.
Well, if you look, and someone probably knows this because these companies are public, you can go look it up. But if you were to look at how these companies are valued, that's a good indicator. So let's say in the numbers that come to mind, and you know from when the last time I looked at this, where a tech company is usually like 30 to 40 times their market cap, how much their stock is valued at, is 30 to 40 times what their earnings are. So if you make $1 billion in revenue, not talking profit, but revenue, so you could be barely making a profit on that, your market cap, your stock is going to be around 30 to 40 times that. That's the value of your business. And if you were to look at on the other side, like a Procter and Gamble or, you know, Caterpillar, somebody that makes hard goods, like things like that, it's going to be like 5 times or something. So it's going to be way, 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 way lower. That's why Tesla actually has a really weird, like, doesn't make sense to traditional stock traders when they look at Tesla, because they look at it and go, you're a car company, but you're trading.
A computer company.
Yeah.
It's a software company, though. It's like a weird, they don't know where to fit. They're everything.
I think it's a data company, honestly. I think the biggest thing in Tesla's possible future, well, there's 2 things, but one is self-driving cars. And the thing you need for self-driving cars, besides a car with the tech, which they obviously already have, is the data to teach the machine learning algorithms and architectures how to drive the car. So they, with now over 1 million cars out there that all have cameras and are collecting data 24/7, they're just light years ahead of anyone else in this space. So I would look at Tesla if I were an investor in that light. Like, holy shit, they are so far ahead in this one space. And if they can really nail self-driving cars, they're going to become a multi-trillion-dollar company. It's they're just going to blow past everyone out there. And so that is why their stocks should be valued so super high.
Do you think that will trump Starlink? Because that's another huge thing.
Yeah, well, so me and my friends were talking about this recently on our podcast, Our Ludicrous Future, and Tim on there is the SpaceX guy. He's the everyday astronaut, so he's like the man at this stuff. And we were chatting about it. I think Starlink's going to be huge, but it might not be as huge as people think, and it's because, like, where you live now in let me just tell everyone your address real quick. No, but like where we both live in Southern California,
there's plenty of land networks.
It's broadband internet is easy and it's relatively inexpensive.
I don't have high-speed internet at home.
What?
I mean, I have.
Define that. Tell me more.
I think the fastest I can go, it's like 10 up.
What?
And 20 down. That's it. It's hardwired. It's like copper.
I don't need to move. Optical. First off, you need to move.
I'm in Rancho Cucamonga, and I'm only like less than half a mile from here, and this is a commercial space. We have 100 down, 100 up, or 500 down, 500 up here. It's like,
and that's still dog slow. It is
super fast for
compared
us,
to what you were used to.
Compared to
yeah.
what I've been.
So if it's your house, you're getting 10 up, 20 down, and Starlink comes in, and maybe it's a little bit more money, maybe there's a setup fee, but you're gonna get 100 times better performance.
With
You
a
would
little
probably
dish,
go
right?
for it.
With a
Yeah,
little-
I guess.
I would sign that contract tomorrow. Yeah.
Yeah. So the question is though, Tim, my buddy, everyday astronaut, we were talking about it because he lives in Cedar Falls, Iowa, and you may think this is like BFE, like there's nothing around but cornfields, and that's slightly true, but he has 10 gig internet at his house.
Okay.
Like, I do not understand this, but literally his shit is like we did a speed test one time because after we do our podcast remotely like this and we have to upload our audio and it's like 4 gigs, that shit's like 10 seconds. It's just like bink, it's there, and I'm like, how the fuck does this happen? And so for him, so like for him, it does not make sense at all, right? Like, why the hell would I like decrease my speed by 10 and probably pay more money? So
yeah, but I think he's not. He's the exception. I don't think he's the rule, right?
Well, that's my question. So the data we would need to know how big Starlink is going to be. Like, if I were an investor thinking, what should we price this stock at? I would want to know the market potential, because people like Tim and even someone like me, where I have 900 down and 40 up, like, unless it comes in cheaper, I probably won't do it until it's more proven out. So I think like the market may not be as big as you think.
Well, I think their initial market is not going to be in the U.S., right? It's going to have to be abroad, some other countries, third world countries,
Well,
but of course, the lower latitudes is going to take longer because they're starting from the north, so it doesn't make sense.
That's what I'm saying. Yeah,
higher latitudes are developed countries. They're Norway. They're all like
England. Yep.
Russia. Like, they don't need. Well, I don't know. Maybe Russia, China, maybe rural China needs.
Yeah. No, there's definitely a market there, and I think the bigger impact Starlink might have is breaking apart the stranglehold that the ISPs have here, because then they'll truly be forced to compete. Like if Starlink comes in as like to someone like Tim and is like, hey, yeah, it's not 10 gig internet, it's 1 gig, but by the way, it's $15 a month. He might be willing to do that. And so they could come in just for that. Just they could Amazon it. They could Jeff Bezos it and like just undercut whoever your local provider is. Just be like, oh, what is it? $40 a month? Cool, $38 a month, and way better, and just to destroy them. And then once you destroy the ISPs, then you own the world. I mean, and it's kind of nuts. Like, it has a huge potential.
I think so.
But honestly, like I think self-driving cars and Starlink are kind of up there as the biggest things. Starlink, I think, is going to be a separate company, though, right? It's a separate thing.
Probably,
like, they're going to IPO it and everything.
Oh, you think so? Yeah. I mean, I think that's a massive undertaking. I think it has a huge potential, so it would have to be something separate, because how are you going to keep those two together?
I think it'll still be 3 or 4 years before Starlink is, like, readily available.
Yeah.
Because they need something like 4,000+ satellites. And they're launching 60 at a time, but still, that's a couple years worth of launches,
right? That's just to get decent coverage in the U.S. because they're like,
yeah, it varies.
I don't know. Yeah, it's weird because I don't know if I told you the story, but I got one of those batteries. Falcon 9,
from the Falcon 9. Yeah,
and
send me a photo.
I was gonna put a video or whatever, and then next thing I know, SpaceX is like, hey, listen, this is like big deal stuff. You might not want to do that. In fact, can we go pick it up right now?
Oh,
so
shit.
I'm like, okay. So they sent 2 agents out here.
They're like, yo, just give me an invite to the next launch, okay? We'll call it even.
I was like, just because they were like, look, if you do make another video, we might have to get all the CIA, the FBI, all these other...
The INS?
No, because this is highly protected hardware. This is essentially like an ICBM.
Well, it's government secrets, right? And space stuff, I know, is protected at a like an extra layer of it.
Yeah.
Right. Back in like the 60s, there were all
no
these laws
civilian
passed
should
about it.
have this. This is like prohibited from civilian hands.
So who'd you steal it from?
Someone just sent it to me. I mean, it
You're
was in
just
the wrong
walking across the
pallet.
street. Hey, look at that.
They were saying that it was stolen, but it wasn't stolen. It was a legitimate mistake. I think just it was on the wrong pallet. It got to the wrong person. They didn't know what to do
Got
with it.
it.
They're like, send it to this other guy, and that other guy ended up sending it to me and a few other YouTubers, right? But that's the crazy thing is that I thought they were gonna send some crazy like scary people to come pick it up. These were like top security officers at SpaceX, right? I don't
It's
know
like
what
a
that means.
Postmates guy just shows up.
No, so I looked them up because I was nervous. I was legitimately nervous. I'm like, oh man, are these guys gonna be like nasty with me? They didn't. They sounded really nice on the phone. So then we looked them up, and they're like ex-military guys. So I'm like, okay, they sound legit people, but they come in here. They're nicest guys. They're super. I thought they were not gonna know anything about the tech,
Yeah.
right? Because they're security officers. They're guys that are whatever. They're in charge of
Yeah, yeah,
security. They knew everything. They knew Starlink. They told me that they're using it. They're telling me like some
Nice.
details. They're playing video games. They're telling me how many stations they have operational up to that date. That was like a month and a half ago. So I don't know. That stuff changes highly. It was really crazy experience. He
That's
stayed
cool.
here like 2 hours talking to me in the parking lot as they were like taking the battery apart.
Yeah,
and
yeah.
They
What
took
was
it.
that battery for? It was for the grid fan or something, or
No,
you know?
that the grid fan battery needs to be giant. It's an actual like car-sized battery. In
Yeah.
fact, the first one they used in one of those hoppers was, I think, in unmodified or
Model
or-
3.
Yeah, it's like slightly modified Model 3, right? So it needs
Yeah.
because those are big motors.
Yeah,
This battery was for electronics. It was a tiny one. I think it had like 8 cells inside, 18650s. I couldn't tell because it was built like a freaking tank. I actually took it apart, and it was on a PCB board, which people make fun of me because I use PCBs for my batteries.
Yeah.
And now I find
And you're
out
like,
it's-
hey, look at these
There we
guys.
go.
They're doing it.
right? If
That's
it's
awesome.
good enough to go to space, and then it was potted into this like housing, aluminum house. It was crazy. It was like super engineered. It was really cool, actually.
So,
to experiment.
how excited are you or not to see the new Lucid battery?
I don't even know about it. What's the new battery?
Lucid's car maker, right?
Is that
Yes,
is
Lucid
that new
Air.
tech?
Yeah, Lucid Air, their official unveiling September 9th. I may or may not have got to see it up close already.
Oh, okay.
And so the public stuff they've shared that's pretty incredible is it has 517 miles of range,
Okay. Fine.
On
But
a
that's
100
that's achievable.
113 kilowatt hours.
113, 500. Oh, that's actually pretty.
It's like
Good
4.6
efficiency.
miles per kilowatt hour. And
pretty good
it's better than the 3 by 0.3, and it's better than the S by 0.6. But the footprint of the car is a bit smaller than the Model S.
Okay.
So they're able to get 13 more kilowatt hours in there in a
Yeah,
smaller
but-
footprint.
But is it heavier? We don't know anything about the battery. Do we know anything about the battery? Do we know what the weight?
There will be details coming out soon.
Okay.
I can't share.
I'm
But
not
but know this. So, do you know who the CEO, CTO is?
of Lucid. No.
Yeah. Peter Rawlinson,
Peter Rawlinson.
chief engineer that designed the Model S.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh, there we go. Okay.
So this dude knows his stuff. And
Peter Rawlinson. Okay.
all I got to
so-
say is like I think anyone that's into battery tech is going to be super impressed once they unveil this more.
I think so. I'm waiting for battery day.
Yeah.
Anxiously. But here's the thing. I think how you said that Tesla is so far ahead in the autonomy driving realm, right? And I 100% agree with you. There are a ton of like these YouTubers that are going on camera and saying, "Oh, Tesla's so far up ahead, like miles ahead of everyone in the battery." And I'm like, "Where is that?" There's absolutely there's absolutely no evidence to that. Like the batteries that they're on the Model 3, they're like a tiny bit better than what's out there from every other manufacturer that's available.
So what is Tesla's real thing then? Because I still don't fully grasp how it all works, but the more I hang out with Michael up at EV West, the more I absorb. Because you have the battery, and then you have the BMS, the thing that controls what happens there, and then you have several control units, like a VCU or something like that.
Yeah,
and then and then you have the motor that actually spins the wheels. So where is Tesla's, like, from your perspective, where is Tesla's, like, secret sauce? Like, what have they done really, really well that is far and above?
There's
None
no
of it?
secret sauce, dude. They're actually
The whole
taking,
packaging of it, like,
I think it's that they're the only ones doing it. Like, no one else is trying to pack 80 kilowatt hours of battery in a car. It's nothing. Like, anyone could have done it. Someone could have done it 10 years ago. Those batteries are literally the same batteries that they shipped in the 2012.
Yeah, right. Well, and it's the AC propulsion guys that with the T0 or whatever, right?
T0.
That's what Tesla
they were
licensed for the Roadster.
They were pioneering the motor technology. So the three-phase AC induction motor technology. It was kind of hard to use. It was a variable frequency drive. That's what it's called. It's kind of rare in the commercial space. Like, so usually big giant motors don't need to vary their speed. They can, they can run this like at constant speed. So there wasn't a need. There weren't like wide in the market versions of this variable frequency drive. And so these guys started experimenting with their own. It was not hard to do. All you need is 3 big MOSFETs, and that will oscillate at like crazy, at 8 kilohertz or something like that. It's nothing. There's no magic. It's just they executed it. It's the execution.
So it really is like the iPhone of cars then, because like when the iPhone came out, I remember watching it streaming internet from my HTC Dash Windows mobile phone on a bus, and like literally like downloading it remotely, plugged into my thing, tethering to this. And the iPhone came out and I'm like, that thing sucks. Like, it doesn't do half of what my current thing does. Yeah. But I'm a techie geek that had already been working in it for years, so I knew how to configure the device to do certain things that it wasn't like intended to be doing, but it could do. And no one, like most people, weren't even in that realm. So when the iPhone came out, none of it was groundbreaking. Like there were tons of phones that could do all of those things. The only thing that they really nailed was the design. Let's put these 3 things that already exist but are super hard for people to get, like, to use, and just make it super, super easy, Yeah. So it sounds kind of like the same deal, like the Model S being, the one that kicked it off really for him. Nothing really, a great design, beautiful, like really high-tech interior, especially for those days. And, the user experience, like just the whole thing of it really was what it was, right? It wasn't necessarily like, they've got some, nuclear fusion reactor in there or some shit that, no one else can do.
It was all tech, but they refined it so that it was really easy to use, right? It's like you got on there, but you really think about it, people were saying like, it's like an oversized golf cart. It's exactly like an oversized golf cart. Like literally some golf carts have the exact same technology. 3-phase AC induction motors with lithium batteries.
I'm a big golfer, and I actually just got a push cart. And I was looking at it. These people sell these automatic ones like that drive themselves for like $2,000.
Yeah.
And I'm looking at this. This thing was like $100. I'm gonna go up to Jehu's workshop and we're just gonna fucking rig this thing up. Like, I guarantee you, we got some like little shitty motors, just some little tiny little things. We can just like wire this up, and this thing will be flying down the golf course, man.
Yeah. I mean, those little scooters and the e-bikes and stuff that are like, those are some legit 1 kilowatt systems. They can put out quite a bit of power.
Just strap a battery on there and get some motors. And problem is having a way to control it, like a way to drive it would be kind of a challenge. But
no, not even. You could put a throttle on there, or you can have like I'm just building a skateboard right now that has the wireless little thing or whatever.
This one would have to have a way to turn the front wheel to steer. That would be
to steer. Yeah, little servo. Come on.
There you go. See, I knew it. Cars. I'm gonna come up there. I'm just gonna show up one day with this golf cart. You'd be like, or this little golf thing. Like, what the fuck are you doing?
There you go. Let's do it. I have a ton of batteries. Dude, literally right now I'm trying to figure out what else to build with these batteries. I got this contract. Can I say this? Yeah, I could probably say this.
Probably.
Okay, so in the news, did you see those bikes that they were crushing online?
What is this?
Yeah. So you know how Uber's in trouble right now.
Yeah. The
Everywhere.
jump.
So first it was the mobility stuff. I guess they got out of it, and now they're selling it to someone else. So
Okay.
then whoever bought them, I don't want to say who, but people could find out. You just have to Google it. Whoever bought it, somehow they were like, those 10,000 bikes that are out there already on the cities and streets, we don't want them. We want to introduce our own version or something. So they
Yeah.
scrapped them. They literally rounded
wow.
them all up, sent them to a recycler. And in the recycling plant, I guess the employees were like, what the hell? Why are we getting thousands of these bikes? They're literally
Brand new.
nothing
fine.
wrong. A lot of them are brand new, very low mileage. There's absolutely nothing wrong with them. So they started taking videos and pictures, and they shared them. And then all the vlogs, all the the Gizmodos, all the vlogs online
Yeah.
picked it up, and it was a huge deal. So much that they had to donate about 2,500 bikes. I think they had to do it. So, anyways, all those batteries and all those components had to end up somewhere.
Yeah.
And so, somehow they ended up with me.
Nice.
So,
Dude, no,
so
seriously,
they're
I'm going to
like-
come up there with my golf thing and we're going to hook this up. I'm telling you.
yeah.
It's
So
gonna be
I've
fun.
been selling those, and we've been putting them on all kinds of stuff. I mean, like literally.
That would be a
they're-
perfect application. Yeah.
They're actually pretty legit. They're like these 40 cell packs that are like 5 pounds, and like in
Yeah.
a skateboard, it'll give you like 30 miles of range. Two
Yeah.
of those will give you definitely like 50 miles in an e-bike or something. It's pretty
Duro.
crazy. And last night I just figured out how to use the internal BMS, because
Oh, cool.
they're legit batteries. They're just dead because they're proprietary, right? So that's whole VCU that Tesla has on their
Yeah.
cars, that spits out CAN commands, right?
Oh, okay.
So
So it
these
says-
e-bikes are the same thing. They're just tiny versions. Like
Yeah,
they're
yeah.
literally just like
I
a
love
Tesla.
that.
And so we make like a little controller, and then that spits out the right commands, and now we can wake them up. And
Yeah.
I'm mostly selling them for people that are going to make DIY Powerwalls,
Yeah.
which is a nice
dude.
segue to go to Powerwalls, because you made a video about Powerwalls that is
My
that
most
it's-
popular video now.
Is it most? Yeah. Okay. So I remember, like, the very first time I knew about Ben Sullins was because you sent me an email and you're like, "Hey, I talk about data, and
Yeah.
and I want you're doing this cool thing with DIY Powerwalls. Maybe we should do something like that." And I was like, "Yeah, we should probably try to do something like that." But how are you liking your Powerwall?
Well, it's been a year now. I'm working on my 1-year review.
Okay.
It's fantastic. In fact, next week, I think I'll have to look at my schedule, but we're doing a thing where, we're both in California right now. The grid is under duress, and, they're doing blackouts and all these things. So next week, we're going to go off grid for a week at our house
A week?
and see. Well, we're just going to see if we can do it.
Wait.
So
okay.
we've got 2 Powerwalls
Two
and a
Powerwalls.
5.3 kilowatt PV system.
5 plus 25. So you average about 30 kilowatt hours day?
Of energy a
7
day. Yep.
days? Yeah.
Yep.
Okay. Okay. How much do you use a day?
Well, that's the
If
question.
if you don't use less than that, then you're not gonna make it. Unless,
Yeah,
unless
I
you
know.
do weird stuff.
Well, but so the thing we want to see is whether or not we can do it with an assumption of like the grid is down and we're being conservative here, not just we're being normal, whatever, right? But like in my studio here, I used to have a window AC unit that just ate energy like nobody's business. Now I have a mini split that takes hardly any energy at all to run. We got this thing installed on our AC unit that requires a lot less voltage to get going and everything. So overall, we're pretty good, I would say, in terms of our energy use. The one thing we're gonna not do, which people can say it's fair or not fair, is we're not going to charge our cars at home during this time, because the idea is to show whether or not someone else, like somebody that doesn't have electric cars, just a normal house, could go off grid and could kind of live independent here.
But I
So
thought
it
electric
wouldn't be
cars
fair
is the norm.
Yeah. Huh?
I thought the electric cars are the norm now.
Yeah, right.
Oh, okay.
We've got 30,000 in San Diego County. We've got 3 million cars, so we're not
Okay.
even scratching the surface.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah.
So we'll see. We'll see how it goes. But yeah, they're great. You know, we've had a few blackouts. It's funny. The lights will flicker really briefly when there's an actual blackout, and we had some initial issues, and like with flickering. And I called Tesla. They came out and they said that the AC unit had, when it kicked on, it was wanting more amps or whatever than the Powerwalls could give it. So if the AC kicks on, so every day the way we have it set up is from 4 p.m. to 9 p.m. we're off grid. We're running solely on the Powerwalls, and we have the time of use plan. So that way, if we were paying for that, that'd be 53 cents a kilowatt hour. So it'd be a stupid high amount, but we're off grid. And then we fill them up with solar, and then we charge our cars at night at 9 cents a kilowatt hour. So super, super cheap. Anyway, so that's kind of how we have it set up. But during that time from 4 to 9, if the AC kicked on, which it does, often, it would want more amps or whatever than the Powerwalls could put out, or not the Powerwalls, but the gateway or whatever, the inverter kind of thing. And so our lights would flicker for a second until it kicked on. And so they installed a thing called Smart Start, where now I'll get this wrong. It wanted like 49 amps or some shit, and now it's like 10 to start.
Yeah, it's a capacitor.
Yeah.
It's
Okay,
literally
yeah.
a battery in between your thing and your.
Yeah. So after they fixed that, we've had zero issues. Like I said, there were a couple blackouts where I thought the Powerwalls were having an issue, and I was pissed. And I go outside and I look, and the whole neighborhood's dark, and I'm like, oh shit, all right. Like, and I look at my phone, like, oh, there were an actual outage right now. And we had no idea. So we've had a few of those that have been great. And the big question I don't have an answer to right now is basically how much money are we saving by doing this, what they call peak shaving, right? Where we buy low and sell high. We fill them up at night at 9 cents kilowatt hour, and we sell back energy.
You have
53
data,
cents.
right? You have data
Yeah.
on how many kilowatt hours they put out. Because look, if you're charging, then you're spending, I don't know, 9 plus inefficiencies, probably 10, 11 cents a kilowatt hour.
Right.
Right? And then if you're using it from 4 to 9, then that's worth 53 cents a kilowatt hour. So it's
Exactly.
a difference. And however many kilowatt hours at the end of the month, that's how I did my calculations for my little system. Because I had a system at home where it's $1,500 worth of solar panels and just a little grid tie inverter. And that would run from around 10 a.m. to like 7 p.m. or whatever, right? But that's exactly when my peak time is. For me, my peak time is different. It's 12 p.m. to 6 p.m. So 6 hours. Yeah. And the difference is a little bit less. Because I grandfathered that in like way back in the day. Okay. It actually works for me because those solar panels are generating, they're peaking right around noon, right when it goes into that thing, right? So I'm like, okay, so that means every kilowatt hour that these solar panels are generating, it's worth about 50 cents.
Exactly. Here, let me show you. I mean, it's 4 o'clock now, but this is probably one of the dopest things. So yeah, whoops, hold on. I don't know if you can. I can send you guys a screenshot of this. So you can see here
3
that
kilowatts from solar.
That is going straight into the grid.
Oh, actually, that's going into the grid.
Yeah, so right now, 4 o'clock. I programmed it to start at 3, but essentially we're right at this very moment entering that peak time. So what that means is that all the solar energy being generated right now is going back into the grid, and then we're running on the Powerwall. So our house is pulling. It's backwards. 3.1.
Oh, so you're feeding the grid. You're doing surplus into the grid.
Yeah. Well, what it is so 4 to 9, the peak time. That's 53 cents a kilowatt hour. 4 o'clock, the sun is still shining. For another 3 hours.
Yeah.
Really, really strong. So for those 2 or 3 hours or whatever it is until the sun goes down, we're running our house and everything is running solely on the Powerwall, and we're sending all that solar energy back to the grid, getting that 53 cents a kilowatt hour credit. And it is the retail rate credit, which is really great. So
how'd you manage that? Isn't that like a weird thing? Most utilities
No. That's normal. That's net energy metering. That's one of the provisions in the California law. So
Really?
yeah, so with all that, anyways, with all of that, our net electricity bill for our house, studio, and we've been home, you know what I mean, like 24/7 with kids and stuff. We're not out at work, so using a ton of energy and 2 electric cars that have, require gobs of energy is under $1 a day. It's about 25-26 bucks a month that we spend on
Wow.
electricity for all of that told.
And dude, and that's almost just. I bet you, if you were to disconnect, like if you
Yeah.
move out of your house
Yeah.
and you disconnect every appliance, I think the fee is going to be around that. So you might just be paying
Yeah, even less. Yeah.
actual fees.
Yeah, because the non-bypassable charges are like 16 or 17 bucks a month. So we're
Oh, is
paying
that
like
what it is? Okay.
yeah,
It's
we're
about
paying
10
like
bucks.
12 or 15 bucks a month is for
Okay.
electricity. And you know how much electricity is in a Tesla. I mean, it's stupid how much energy when we charge at night that we fill that up with. But because we have that rate arbitrage, it you know what I mean, the buy low sell high thing, it all nets out to be super super cheap, which is really
Super
great.
cheap.
I don't
So-
think like that's the thing I always try to get people. I'm like, "Yo, you can save money with this shit." Like
Yes.
it's not just about being a tree hugger, you know?
No, it financially makes sense. People don't get it. I think people don't. There's a few people I think that actually notice how much they're wasting at the pump, right? Like
Yeah.
If they're commuting, because there's a lot of people that commute really far. They're dumb.
Yeah.
I mean, whatever. It's like challenging times, I guess. But those people that drive big trucks or big cars, SUVs, and they literally dump hundreds of dollars
Yeah. Yeah.
in the gas tank every week, right?
Well,
And
that's
they
the
must be
big
seeing it.
thing that people don't understand though is so if you buy a Model 3, let's say, because you got what, the standard range plus, was
Center
it?
range price, yeah.
Yeah, and so even that's like $39,000 or something.
Yeah.
Like that's a pretty expensive car. Like depending, I guess, on who you are. But where I come from, that's a lot of money.
Yeah.
And so to a lot of people, they're like,
$600 a month.
yeah,
a lot of
yeah,
money,
$600 a month. That's the number people look at, and they go, "Are you kidding me? $600 a month for a car? I can buy this Honda Civic for $250 a month." But then they don't realize, the money that they spend on gas and that the money that they spend at oil changes and all these other dumb things that go along with it, they're going to end up paying more. And so that was the crux of my channel. I probably have 100 videos on the exact topic, just like trying to hammer it home. Like you'll save money here, you'll save money here. No waiting at the gas station. No sitting in line at the Costco gas station for your half of your day or whatever. All that shit just goes away, and you get to charge at home. It's like the best thing you could possibly, best scenario you could design.
You plug it in, and then you're good to
That's
go.
why-
And if you forget, the cool thing is with the Teslas now, so if you ever forget, like on my bus, if I forget to charge it and I'm going somewhere far, forget
Game
it.
over. You can't go.
I'm Ubering. Oh, wait a minute.
Yeah.
I'm not Ubering because they're not longer operating in California. I'm stuck at home.
Yeah.
But
And-
in a Tesla, you literally drive down the street and then you plug in
Supercharge
for
it up.
20 minutes. And
This gets to why I think hydrogen is so stupid, is because there's a lot of articles out there in the mainstream media that talk about the infrastructure for electric cars isn't here, which is the dumbest thing, because if that were
already here.
true, then your house wouldn't have electricity. But because your house has electricity, it means the infrastructure is there. So, hydrogen is the thing where that is actually true. Like the infrastructure does not exist. According to the Department of Energy, there's like less than 50 hydrogen fueling stations in the United States, and the vast majority of them are in California. And they were all put there for Toyota to do their dumb little Mirai piece of junk, right? But like when you look at all this stuff, like electric cars are just the big challenge still, I think, is the price. The price overall, yes, is going to be better, but I think you need to have a $25,000 EV that gets 300 miles on a charge. Hopefully that's what I see on battery.
Or you need
battery day.
a $30,000, $20,000, $25,000 car that gives you 100 miles, but it can quick charge everywhere.
Oh yeah, yeah.
That becomes a thing too, where you're like, oh well, I have to.
I
quick
did a
charge
review of
twice
this.
today.
I did a review of this Fiat 500e.
Okay, yeah.
I was so impressed, man. I was
That's fun, right?
super
It's super fun to drive that thing.
impressed. I was peeling out. I was fucking spinning around. That thing was bad. I was like, yes,
dude, and you can pick them for like $6,000 used.
Yes, yeah, exactly.
It's
The one I
like-
was driving, it was the sport edition, which just means it has a fucking decal on it. Nothing else is different. It was a 2015 with like 15,000 miles on it for $7,000. I'm like, I mean, I don't know where you could get a more reliable, because $7,000 is your purchase price. That doesn't, again, you know, you don't have to install, when you have a small battery like that, you don't even have to install an EV charger at your house. You just plug that shit into the wall and you're fine, because it's a small battery. It refills right away. So, dude, like, if you're a younger person looking to save money, and you're okay to maybe swallow your pride a little bit if you feel, you know, not macho driving a Fiat, I'll tell you what, you will save a shit ton of money on that car.
Yeah.
You know?
I totally
yeah.
I totally got my buddy to buy one. He was telling me like, oh man, I gotta get a new car. I'm like, get one of these. It's like you can find them for $6,000. And he's
Dude.
like, really? But like, can I just plug it in? I go, yes. That guy didn't even install a plug outside his house. He literally put an extension cord.
Yeah.
And the other day he sent me a picture of the plug and it's all like melted. And I'm like,
shit.
I go, you're maxing it out. I go, maybe put a new socket in the thing.
Yeah.
I mean, you're kind of cheap, but come on. Yeah. But he's literally commutes around town. He's saving thousands and thousands of dollars every year.
You can't beat it. You cannot beat it. And you know, that is a true townie car. You're not going to go on road trips in that. But I'll tell you what, like, so I actually just interviewed, and my video's coming out next week, a friend of mine, Nathan Fletcher, who is on the board of supervisors here in San Diego, and he's also on CARB. He is the governor appointee to the California Air Resources Board. So they're the ones that handle like the EV incentives for the state of California and stuff. And I interviewed him about his car, a Ford Focus electric.
Ah, okay.
And I was like, what the hell is, first off, he texted me that. I'm like, what is that? I've never even... And so anyway, so I went and spent the day with him, talked about his experience. He did have an actual like Clipper Creek, charger installed, but dude, even that one, I think he paid $10,000 for it, and it's a bit more functional than the Fiat, right? Like it's a bit bigger. I think there's 4 doors even, so it was a bit nicer. But they're out there, man. You don't need to spend $50,000 on a Tesla.
No, I mean, not everybody needs 300 miles. That's also the thing I think that people don't get, right? Because
they freak out. They're not aware how many
Well,
miles.
I think it's for that. Like, what if you need it? I think that's people put too much emphasis on what if. Like, I literally get people that comment on my videos like, why would you build that? What if it breaks? Like, what if it burns your house down? And I'm like, then you deal with it. But what if it doesn't?
Yeah.
I mean, it's like, what if it saves you a ton of money? Like, why would you just focus?
It's a
on
bucket of crabs, man. It's the whole. Do you know that analogy?
No.
So if you put a crab in a bucket and it's big enough, it can just crawl out and it'll just peace out, right? But if you put a bunch of them in there without a lid on or anything, no one will ever be able to make it out, because as soon as one of the crabs starts to crawl out, the other crabs grab on top of him and then they pull him back down.
No.
So the analogy here is like, if you are a person trying to do something different, trying to build something that you could just buy, or talk about something in a different way, or just share something that's unique, there are always going to be people that are the crabs in the bucket just trying to pull you back down. You can't talk about personal finance. This is a Tesla channel. You can't talk about the Porsche Taycan. That thing sucks. You need to talk about Tesla. It's like it's just dumb. You know what I mean? So you'll always have the what ifs out there. That's just the nature of it.
Yeah, that's true. But you got to keep pushing through. Like, that thing that you were saying about living a whole month. Like, I want to do that, but on the DIY side, right? Because you obviously have the Tesla Powerwalls. You have the, a system that you paid a contractor to go and install, legit and stuff. I'm like, that's not my style. I want to do, the slightly dangerous, highly legal.
How much? So, I think the challenge is always like the cost, like you're so it's funny. I have a funny story for you about this, but a friend of mine, actually my editor, he's a maker. He likes making things, and so he has like a workshop he built, and he was in love with. There was like this old school. I don't know if it's called a cafe racer, but it was almost like this retro looking e-bike that some company was coming out with.
Yeah.
And I don't think they came out with it, but it was going to be like $7,000 or something. He's like, fuck, that's just too much money for that, for just a little bike. And he's like, I bet I could make it. And so he started to look into making his own e-bike, and he's actually done it now. He's made a few of them. And I think he's buying all his stuff from you. Because I told him, I was like, yo, you need to check out Jehu's stuff. Like, and he was doing the math on it. He's like, okay, I could buy this from China, and it would be this price, but it would take 6 weeks to get here, or I could buy it for retail off the shelf here, or I could make it and buy stuff from Jehu, and it would be even way cheaper and faster than all these other options. So
probably,
I think it's cool that you're able to do that, but batteries are always the most expensive bit, right?
Yeah.
Like even because you need a shit ton of energy to go like truly off grid.
Yeah, you do. I mean, you need at least, like you need at least. Actually, I just built one here in my shop. I haven't finished. I haven't like hooked it up, but it's about 20 kilowatt hours. So you have about 14, right?
20,
no, 14
27.
times 2, 27. Okay.
13.5.
So yours
Yeah.
is, which is crazy. Yeah, those are really compact. Those Powerwalls that you have.
It is. Well, and it's funny though because in my driveway I've got like 150 kilowatt hours.
Yeah.
So it's kind of stupid, but
that's about as compact as it gets. But it's not. That's a big car. Those cars that you have are big and heavy.
Yeah.
You literally have like 4 tons worth of batteries in your driveway.
Yeah. The Lucid Air is being released with vehicle to grid capability.
Ah, okay. Which is super easy to do. I don't know why Tesla hasn't. I don't know why. I truly don't know why.
Well,
you know do you know there's a video that came out that people were saying that the new Model 3s or whatever had
the charger,
the two-way thing, and then someone debunked it by taking the charger apart.
Yeah, so, what's the answer?
No, it's not. It's literally, so I think in order to convert AC to DC, you have to use these diodes, right? And these are one-way transistors that just let current go one way. So they use this configuration, which is called oh damn, I forgot it. Yeah, it's just it's just a I forget. So anyways, they use this configuration, which is like 4 diodes in like a little square going around in a circle, right? You can't that design, you really literally can't flow energy backwards, right? But changing that is not hard at all. That's like all you have to do is, instead of using that configuration on those diodes, you just do a 2-way. You just use like switching section, right? So it's basically diodes. There's basically transistors are turning on and off at different speeds, and that's how you make it go. Yeah, so rectifying bridge. Yeah.
You would still need a lot though, right? So obviously you know a lot more than I do about this, but I was really surprised when they installed my Powerwalls, all the other shit that they had to install. So you've got the 2 Powerwalls, and they each have these disconnects. So I think that's more of a to code thing, like literally just a switch, like turn it off. Yeah. And then those go into a sub panel, which is downstream from my main electrical panel.
Yeah, that's probably
and there's a gateway as well.
Okay, so let's explain what all that stuff is. So that other sub panel, you need it because basically what's happening is that the electricity comes into your main panel, right? And then from there, it branches out to all your circuits.
The phases in the circuits, right?
Yeah, it just goes into all your circuits that are then go wired to your thing. So then in order to connect something in there that's for off-grid, right, when the power goes out, then you have to put a transfer switch.
Yeah. So at the very bottom, there's like so the whole thing now is just, normally you'd see all your circuits labeled with all the things.
Yeah.
Mine there's like SDG&E, like the service coming in, and then blanks, nothing in there, and then at the very bottom, like Powerwall, basically.
Oh, really? So where are all you don't no longer have all the the
all the circuits for the wired stuff
Uh-huh.
is in the sub panel.
In
So
the
it's
sub panel.
all been wired. So I basically have a new electrical
A new
panel that they
electrical panel.
installed.
I'm in the process
Um,
of doing that here on my shop because that's the essentially what you have to do is you have to put a bypass,
Right.
to get to all your, because here's the thing, when you are on emergency power or auxiliary power, let's call it, right?
Right.
Your power walls might not be able to run your full setup, like maybe your cars, maybe your your oven or your AC or whatever. So had to be able to like turn those off, those circuits off.
Uh-huh.
So you isolate those circuits, and that way, when the emergency thing kicks off, it's only the critical circuits.
Yeah.
Right? Lights and power and all sort of stuff.
Well, yeah, and so we moved everything into the backup panel, essentially. That way we can go off grid. And even the Tesla guys were like, yeah, this isn't even a lot. They were looking at it. They're like, we have the 1,000 square foot home. They're like, this
Yeah,
isn't
okay.
really a big deal. It's because they were just looking at the loads and everything. They were like, other than the
Yeah.
AC before we put that capacitor in, it was like that was the only thing that they were really worried about.
Yeah.
But so the reason I was asking about that is because I don't think people understand that. I vaguely understand it, but if I were to have like my Tesla be vehicle to grid capable, it's not like I just plug that into the normal outlet I charge it from, right? There's going to have to be a way to plug that into something like this, some kind of backup panel gateway thing.
You could, because just like your AC is pulling a bunch of power from that. Okay, just like your car is pulling up to 7
It's like
kilowatts?
8 kilowatts.
8
yeah.
kilowatt. You
It's a
could
ton.
have that pushed right back into the circuit.
From the same 1450
From
connector.
the same 1450, yeah. I mean, if that thing
Okay.
can pull it out, it could push it right back in.
And it could. Oh, okay, yeah, I guess that's true. That's true. Yeah, because it's a 50 amp circuit.
Yeah, 220 volt, 50
But I
amp.
would
It's capable
still.
of
So if
11
I.
kilowatt hours.
Yeah. So
11
if I
kilowatt,
didn't have the backup system I already have in place, I would still have to have something like that installed, right?
You would still have to have a bypass switch.
Right,
So that
yeah.
that energy. Basically, what you have to do is you have to turn off the connection between your setup and the grid.
And the grid, right?
Yeah.
You have to kind of have yeah, exactly, yeah. So vehicle to grid. Okay, so when I talk to Lucid, and this is all stuff that they've announced, so I can talk about it. They have a thing called the Wonder Box, and it allows that switching essentially. It also they have a 900 volt architecture for their inverter or whatever.
Okay.
And so that's how they're
That's
able
how
to.
they're gaining efficiency.
Yeah.
That's
Yep.
how they're doing it.
Yep.
Oh,
Yeah,
that's
and
cool.
it's really cool. I'm telling you, when you see the motor and the battery and the stuff that they actually when they finally show you what's going on, it'll blow you away. Like I mean, well, it blew me away, but with that, the Wonderbox thing is going to allow vehicle to grid, and then they said, yeah, there's a couple other bits you're going to have to install like at your house in order to power your home from it, but they're going to make all of it. They have their own charger, they have their own everything that
It's
like,
not hard. There's no magic in that box. It's
I know.
literally just a
I
transfer
know.
switch. It's an inverter.
Yeah.
It's a charger. There's stuff that you can literally
But
do now.
the thing that blew me away, and this is on our podcast where we talked about the crazy future stuff, would be imagine if Tesla actually had the foresight to install this in every one of their cars. And so are you familiar with the virtual power plant? Have you heard of that?
You know what? Zach explained it to me once, but I totally forgot it.
So, okay, and this exists. Tesla's doing it in the Northeast, in Massachusetts, Rhode Island, and in Connecticut. And in Vermont, the company is called Green Mountain Power. They're doing something similar where if you have a Powerwall at your house, or we'll just say a home battery, no matter how it was created, how you got it, you can enroll to basically become a supplier of energy to the grid.
Oh, yeah, okay.
And Tesla acts as an intermediary where what they're doing is basically if you own a Powerwall in any of those service areas, you can sign up with Tesla, and then Tesla serves the function of being an energy supplier to the grid operator. So when they need energy because of a heat wave or whatever the hell, they can call Tesla up instead of a natural gas peaker plant. And what you're talking about are lithium-ion batteries that are connected to the grid already.
Yeah.
So that response time is immediate. In the cost, Tesla's able to charge less for it. So in the end, the energy company, the grid operator, saves money on this, and they end up paying Tesla, and then Tesla pays all the people that participated in it with their Powerwalls.
Yes.
So that I'm fascinated with this idea. And then imagine if you could turn all the 1 million Tesla's cars out there in the world to be able to do this.
Yes.
Like, dude, you would never have to fire up a natural gas peaker plant. You'd never have to dip into all the really dirty extra plants and things that are the worst polluters, that are the more expensive ones. And every single Tesla ever sold has an enormous amount of battery storage in it.
Yeah.
Like 5 or 6 Powerwalls worth or something like that, right?
Yeah.
So I look at that as like it sucks so you're saying they definitely do not have that ability right now, right?
Not right now.
Okay.
But it's super easy. All you have to do is change the
charger.
The
But
onboard
imagine if
charger
they
with the new one.
already had done that, and then tomorrow they were like, "Hey, California, that heat wave sucks. How about you sign up with us and we'll drop the cost of energy for everybody?"
Yeah.
Then all of a sudden they wouldn't just be they would be an actual dominant force in the energy market, and it would be powered, basically subsidized by all the people that are buying the cars. It's to me it's the ultimate ace up the sleeve, like.
Yeah.
But they didn't do
So those
it.
programs exist outside of Tesla too. Like you could
Right.
actually, Southern California Edison actually comes and puts like a thing. If you have a battery, like
Right.
they will actually. There's different ones. I know when we were looking at installing a 1 megawatt hour
What?
battery pack. So back in the day, we were doing some crazy stuff, and we were going to install that in a.
It's like the
commercial
Mr.
building.
Beast of battery installs.
Yeah. So they were saying like, yeah, I mean, if we can have access, we'll pay you a yearly contract just to have
Yeah.
access to that.
Yeah.
And it was quite a bit of money, right? And then there's other levels. They're like, okay, if we have access to turn it on and off, on
Then
a
we'll give you
daily
more.
basis,
Yeah.
then they'll give you a different rate. And
Yeah.
it's based on the thing and based on the hour, based on
In the
yeah.
end, it makes economic sense for them. They don't really care where they get the energy from. They just want the cheapest energy they can get, the cheapest and most reliable. And
Yes.
honestly, every single Tesla in California sitting in the driveway is going to be their
It's a
best
giant
bet.
battery. It's a
Yeah.
distributed power plant that it's just
Have-
not connected right now.
Exactly. Have you looked at flow batteries?
I have, and a lot of people comment on my channel, and I'm like, yeah, whatever, I don't care. I mean, those are big scale batteries, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. And so they're cool. It's just they're not that exciting for me because if I can't get my hands on it and like DIY with it, I'm like, whatever.
Yeah. I did see a company that's making a home-based one, like
yeah,
a Powerwall.
but it's like pallet size, right? It's like a big.
It's like
Or is
water
it-
heater sized.
Oh, okay.
So it's not super big, but I hated the article so much that I read because the whole article, it wasn't like, hey, here's this really cool, different type of a battery that's going to do a lot of the same things as the battery. It's like, hey, Tesla Powerwalls blow up and kill people, so you don't want that. And I'm like, that's fucking bullshit. Like, when have you ever heard of that? That's not like the whole premise of the article was like, lithium-ion batteries are super dangerous. You definitely don't want those. Buy this thing instead. I'm like, God damn it, guys. Like, can we just like compete? Like, yo, our shit's better and cheaper. Not
Yeah.
like, hey, your shit's gonna kill people.
Yeah. I mean, they're in every cell phone. They're in every laptop. They're in every car.
Every camera. Yeah.
I mean, literally, we're surrounded. We have like a contact. Probably, if you were to average it out, like 10 lithium-ion batteries a day that we're like in close contact with every day.
Yeah, they're in everyone's pocket.
And they're
Yeah.
like literally
Always.
3 inches away from your pecker right now.
Yeah. That's like why when I hear people get real, I mean, the whole cobalt thing is pretty fucked up. Like, it's pretty gnarly how
Yeah.
they get all that. But at the same time, when you look at the batteries that use the percentage, like where all the cobalt is really being sent, it's in our phones.
Yeah,
Because there's
phones.
billions of these out
Laptops,
there, and
yeah,
there's like
billions.
hardly any.
There's more phones in the
EVs.
world than people.
Yeah, like it's just ridiculous. So
And
Yeah.
not only that, there's like in everything. They're like in every. Before
Yeah.
that, it was every like little pager. They used to have one of those.
Medical
Um,
devices, everything.
GPS little units, like they're everywhere. These 18650s were crazy.
Yeah,
And even the pouch ones.
Was I getting Jehu on it? Oh, where'd it go? Check it out.
Oh, you lost it. Oh, there we go.
Hey, look at me.
Look at that. Those are pink ones. Those are like F26s, right? Is that what it is? Samsung F26?
18650, 2600 milliamps. Made in China. I
Oh,
don't
that's
know.
a Chinese one. No, never mind.
Yeah,
I
this
only
was.
I only deal with the name brand stuff, dude.
Oh, hey, te crees muy muy, okay?
No Chinese, no name
Yeah.
brand Chinese stuff for me.
This was a selfie stick that is a battery, and you
Oh.
put a GoPro on top of it, and
Oh, yeah.
it's for my wife has a channel now, and she's doing home renovations and things, and the USB bit to charge it, like it used to be, it's not going to focus on it, but it like broke off, and I was like,
Oh.
what the hell? I'm like,
Oh,
okay,
yeah,
well, I'm
yeah.
not just going to throw this thing away, like I can jerry rig this thing up, like, you know what I mean? I'm like, I know there's some 18650s in here, so anyways.
Yeah, those are 2009 spec 18 Tesla batteries.
Oh yeah,
Now we're to the 3400 milliamp hours.
yeah. Why
Yeah,
does
those are
it?
2600.
So 18650 is the cell size. That's like the physical dimensions of it.
Yeah.
But that really doesn't tell you much, right?
No.
Like
Doesn't tell
the
you
cell chemistry, like so
doesn't
much of
tell
it.
you-
Yeah.
Yeah, it doesn't tell you what size capacity is.
Yeah. Is that
and
the
it doesn't
C
tell you.
rating?
No, capacity. Well, yeah, capacity is one C is whatever the capacity is of the battery.
Yeah. Okay.
So that's what I mean with people don't know, they don't realize that Tesla hasn't really innovated in the battery space
Yeah.
that much, because in 2012 they had a Panasonic 18650B cell that was 3400 milliamp hours.
Uh-huh.
Now, if you buy a Tesla today, you get a Panasonic custom name, so it doesn't have an actual,
Yeah.
number that is available to the public, but it's a 3400 milliamp hour.
So
Now they have maybe more cycles, they're more robust, they probably are better thermally, they can manage or whatever.
Yeah.
But the capacity on the actual battery is the same.
And so Neil deGrasse Tyson's not totally wrong when he's like, batteries haven't really changed in the past 500 years. Whenever who was it? Alexander Volta or somebody created
Volta?
them or whatever, something like that. He's like, basically it's the same shit that we've been using for hundreds of years. Like, we've made marginal improvements, but that same concept is still exactly
Well,
how
but
it's done.
marginal improvements add up. Like it's I don't think people get. It's hard to wrap your head around energy.
Yeah.
Like, right? Like, what is 1 watt? Like, what is a watt? I've been thinking about how to like visualize this and put it in perspective for people to understand. Like, they don't know what a 1 watt is. You say, oh, that's 100 watts. Oh, this charges at 5. What's the other
Yeah.
charging, right? 10 watts, 20 watts or whatever. Like, what does that mean? Like, what's a watt? I don't think people get it. And I'm like, I was doing some research trying to figure out, like, your body works on electrical impulses. I'm like, how much does your body use? Because, look, we're pretty amazing beings. Like you can get a guy that can pick up, like, 200 pounds. No, like, with nothing, right? Like, at speed, he can run really fast. Like, our bodies are pretty, like, look at that. You could probably bench 200 pounds, right? And that's all electrical impulses, right? So it's like, at the end of the day, like, if you were to, like, live for 2 hours, how much energy did you use?
Well, in the internal side, for the fitness side of what you do, is that's actually calories. That's the definition of a calorie, is the amount of energy it takes your body to heat up 1 ounce of water 1 degree is what a calorie is. It's a measurement of energy.
Energy.
So when you look at food as like, oh, this is 500 calories or whatever, really what it's saying is like that's how much energy is in that food, you know? And then, of course, the bit that's missing is how do you digest that? Like,
How do you
not
use
all
it?
calories are created equal.
Yeah,
right?
and then not all that energy that is in that food actually, there's some inefficiencies, and we're not perfect.
Of course. Well, that's
So
like
then-
when you see 0-calorie things, a lot of times, like Coke Zero, the reason
Yeah.
it's zero is because they've modified the sugar what's it called? Sucralose, I think. They've modified it to a different element or like a different molecule that your body does not recognize as food. So it can't technically be given a calorie count if your body basically pisses it all out.
Yeah.
Now,
But that's a weird thing.
Does that mess with your chemistry and cause you physical changes like food with calories do? Yes, it does. So it's a really brilliant marketing, like terrible thing, you know?
I would watch a thing that maybe it actually tricks your brain the wrong way, and it actually stores more fat because it tastes the sweet part of it or whatever, you know?
Yeah,
like
your glycemic, the glycemic
Yeah.
index, the response you get of a sweet thing, which whether or not it actually has sugar, and then how that messes up your insulin levels and then leads to fat storage when there shouldn't be fat storage. Yeah, there's a whole.
It's a weird thing, right? But the thing is, like, I think all the research that I did, I think, like, your brain, because that's probably the biggest energy consumer in your body. It should be, anyways, for most people. I don't know if it actually is this day and age. I think it uses about 100 watts per day.
Okay.
Right?
Now, a watt. Okay, so tell me the layman's. So, because I remember you were over here, and I was trying to understand this, because, and it's funny. So, like when I see milliamp hours, I'm like, I know what kilowatt hours are because I talk about electric cars, and then I'm like, okay, well, I guess a watt hour would just be like less than kilowatt hour, right? It'd be like kilowatt hour is like 1,000 watt hours.
1,000 watt hours.
And so I'm seeing when I'm seeing milliamp hours, I'm like, I don't even know what the fuck that means. You know, like so a watt and a volt and an amp multiplied equals watt hours.
Watt,
right?
Yeah, a watt. Yeah.
Right. So that's as much as I know.
Yeah. So a watt is the full story or a more complete story of energy, where the amps and the volts are just half the story.
Right.
Right. It's just one variable.
That's why, like, when Lucid has a 900 volt architecture, I'm looking at it and I'm going, I'm not sure I understand why that matters. You know,
So
Peter
that
Rawlinson
matters?
explained it, but I'm like,
okay.
I need to know the amps also. Otherwise, I don't have a picture of.
No,
like, if you have
because-
900 volts at 1 amp, it's not the same as like
No, but
400
that's
volts at 400 amps.
That's almost, if you have one of those two, like if you have the kilowatt hour and the watt hour, or the watt. So the watt is the power output, right? A watt, it's per time, right? So, if you have the volts, then the amps don't matter because you already have enough info, right? So the only reason why higher voltage would make sense is because it's higher pressure. So that means like your conductors and all your electronics could run at more efficient. So they don't have to waste as much. So your conductors don't have to be as big, and they don't have to be as pristine.
Well, and they talked about basically having like thinner wires or something like that because it's more conductive and there's less heat. So you need less shielding around it, which means every little micrometer that you can save equals more energy in a smaller space, and across thousands of cells or whatever, that really adds up.
Yeah. Everything just runs smoother. Everything runs... Yeah, because you're not pushing a bunch of amps. So amps, it literally gets everything hot, when you have a lot of amps. That's why, like high-power transmission lines to cities and stuff, they run in the, 100,000 volts.
Oh,
they could do it through a 1-inch wire.
Yeah.
So that's the reason why. I mean, that literally is like gigawatts worth of power that are transmitted and through a tiny little wire. It's like 1 inch, 3/8 of an inch.
I've heard a lot about high voltage DC transmission lines as well, which I don't understand.
I don't know if those really exist. Do they exist? I don't think they do.
This is so. I don't know if you follow Green Tech Media, but these guys are like great, and they have a podcast called The Energy Gang, and they talk all about basically like renewable energy stuff. But a lot of it is like, all right, if you wanted to really solve this, there are a lot of people out there, especially the fanboys, which we can talk about if you want. But the Tesla fanboys just assume when Elon got up there, I don't know how many years ago, and unveiled the Powerwall, Like, oh yeah, see this little pixel? That's how much solar you need. See this other little pixel? That's how many batteries you need. Done. The whole world runs off renewable energy. And it's just not really true. Like, we need, like, you can't just have those two things. Just like you can't have 100 nuclear power plants. Like, there's so much more to actually being able to distribute the energy and use it than just the
There's a lot
generation of it
waste
and storage of it. Yeah.
and
So these
transmission,
high voltage DC power lines were one of the things that those guys talk a lot about as
I
like
wonder what.
part of the solution.
I thought those were, Tesla in the early days, and Edison. He discovered that a long transmission DC didn't work. It was
Right.
too inefficient. It was way more inefficient. Maybe now something's changed. Maybe there's new technologies that allow it to be more efficient.
Yeah.
That's why we
Yeah, I
went with
don't-
AC, I guess.
Well, yeah, that was the fight they had, right? But I don't know. I really don't know. But yeah, there's a lot to it.
Yeah. But for the average guy, man, I think everybody needs to have a Tesla Powerwall in their garage, or they have to build one. And I'm in the same mission where you're trying to explain why people should have it. I'm in the same mission, like why everybody should build one.
Well, certainly the economics work out better if you build it. And the deal is, I think that originally when I looked at it, and there was some kids at Stanford that did a thing, and they were like, oh yeah, unless your average kilowatt hour price is above 14 cents, then in 10 years, which is the warranty on it, you will not likely see a return. So meaning it's not worth it from a pure financial standpoint. However, if you live in a place that has blackouts, well, then, or like, let's say hurricanes, or get this. Have you heard of a derecho? It's a type of storm.
Oh,
Yeah.
no. I haven't heard
Yeah.
of that.
So Tim in Iowa, not apparently near him in Iowa, but they had.
Oh, wait a minute. I think I just heard that term this weekend about a storm.
Yeah. And we're on the
What is
podcast
it?
there, and they're like, with a gringo accent, like a derecho, and I'm like, like
What's a
right turn. What are you saying? Like, because I hear the derecho and I think right, like
Uh-huh.
Anyways, so storms like that where there's blackouts or those problems, I'm like, dude, who gives a crap what it costs? I just want peace of mind to know my family's
Yeah.
going to be okay in the event of an outage. So I think
Yeah.
like it's a really compelling argument. The more climate change kind of messes things up for people in terms of energy.
No, I think one real big one is that energy demand is going up, right? There's more people.
Yeah.
We're using more technology. And so the grids are not being able to keep up. That's why,
Electric cars,
California has had one of the most solid grids, right, in history. But look at now. I mean, literally, we're
I don't
suffering
get it either, like-
blackouts, brownouts,
Yeah.
scheduled disconnects.
But I think it's more so them just trying to cover their ass and not get sued for fires. I don't
that
think,
one is. But
I don't-
like the
Yeah.
brownouts are not like this whole thing that like last week that we had an emergency.
Yeah.
I think they were forecasting everyone was going to turn their ACs, and they're just that much more ACs. A lot of them
Yeah.
are old ACs
Yep.
that are just super inefficient. And then here's the other thing. During the day, this is what people don't know. In California, we have too much solar panels.
Yes. No. I talked about this in the video. We what's it called? There's a name for it, but we shut off it's huge amounts, like gigawatt hours or some shit, like tons and tons of energy. So, because the video I did was this guy, I think his name's Matt Farah. He's a car guy. He was on Joe Rogan, and
Oh yeah, Matt Farah, huh?
and he was kind of talking shit about EVs, saying like, oh well, if everyone had an EV, the whole grid couldn't handle it. And I was like, I was like, okay, let's see. Like, this isn't some bullshit you can't answer. Like, you can figure that out, right? And what I looked at was, that's when I discovered how much solar energy we were basically shutting off and not using.
Yeah, during the day, because we don't know what to do with it.
Yeah.
So there's a surplus, like a huge amount of surplus. So the grid is equally stressed out during the mornings that they are on the afternoons. It's just opposite.
Yeah, it's
There's
the duck
way
curve,
too
they
much
call it.
energy
Yeah.
in the morning. They don't know what to do. They have to literally have to sell it. They've sold this to other states.
Yeah.
Like they've sold it, but not. They paid other states to take it. It's not
Yeah.
like where you sell it and then you get money. It's like they paid other states to take the extra, right? It's such an important problem to fix in the mornings, and then all that power just turns right back on in the afternoon.
Yep. Yep.
So we definitely need the only thing that can fix it is a battery. I mean, what else can we do?
Well, if you're talking about what to do with the solar energy, yeah.
We need batteries. We need storage.
Well, and that's why
We
I
need
think those
storage.
flow batteries have a real shot, man.
They do because they could be grid level batteries. Right?
Yeah, yeah, and in terms of the cost to install them and stuff, it's dirt cheap, and it's really simple. It's not like a I know you can build Powerwalls, but like I would say like if you look at all the shit that goes into a battery, it's a lot. It's not something you can literally just flow batteries seem like a really good potential for this massive grid level storage. I think everyone should be looking at home storage, build it yourself, or buy it.
Because that's what you can do. Like you can wait around for government to friggin' get utilities to buy those flow batteries, right? But in the meantime, I'm like, there's something you could do, like, and it can affect your pocket. Like you're paying this critical pricing. Did you see what it was? It's like crazy, dude. Like 75 cents a kilowatt. So during those times, they said that from 4 to 9 here, this last week, I think this critical pricing is like they shoot it through the roof. Dude. They're literally trying to get people not to use power between those hours.
Is that legal though? Because isn't there a whole thing about the electricity rate? Isn't that defined by law? Like there's some regulations around that. I don't think.
I think when there's a state of emergency, like energy crisis, I think they can just do whatever they want.
I think they created the crisis, though. I call bullshit, you know?
How much was it? Does it say? Search for critical pricing? I think it was a lot, and I think I'm going to see it at the end of the month here.
Oh, really?
Yes, because I didn't stop. I'm like, I got stuff to do. You know what I mean? Like,
one of the things that... So how hard would it be on your side? Let's say I built a Powerwall. Like, one of the things I really like is the gateway thing that allows me to say what the Powerwall should do.
Yes. That's the only magic that is there in that system. That is
got
the thing.
it.
And it's not very hard for someone to build an app and someone to build a little microcontroller and code it. No big deal. For me, it's like, as hard as going to the moon, right? But you don't have to be that fancy. Like, I literally showed in my channel.
Like, if I could just flip switches or something.
No, not even that. I build a battery that has a charger and a discharger, right? Grid tie it. And then I put a timer. I put like literally like a $10 timer, and it tells you like, okay, and it even has like a whole week. You can set it 7 days, and you can say turn on from this day, turn off from the hour.
Perfect.
You literally just turn it on, the charger on at night, and then you turn the discharger during those peak hours, critical peak times or whatever, and then so it could be as easy as that. And you don't have to monitor. I mean, it's cool. Like, it's cool to have stuff and monitor it, but you don't really need that. We were kind of like...
Yeah.
It's
like art. So it's not on right now. If I was thinking, I should have turned this on. So this little thing I'm pointing to in the background is an iPad that I built a stand for. And the sole purpose of the iPad is to show that Powerwall power flow diagram. It's like art. I'll literally stare at it, and then like my wife will turn on the hairdryer. I'm like, what the fuck just happened? Oh my God. I'm like, oh, it just jumped up. Like, I'm like, who turned what on? I'm freaking out. You know what I mean? I'm like,
I have something similar. It's called Sense.
Oh, yeah. Sensei? Or no?
Yeah, Sense. I think it's called Sense, right?
But those guys, I talked to them a long time ago. I was really bummed because I wanted to know how to monitor exactly, monitor exactly how much energy my car was pulling. And they said what they're doing is they read your panel, and they can tell what the devices are using based on the frequency of the electricity or something.
Yeah, it's
but they said
thing.
But they were like, we haven't figured out how to do it for an electric car yet. I'm like, well, that's stupid. Like, that's the biggest thing.
Yeah, this kind of just shows you like that means that my AC is on at home right now. All those peaks, right? On, off, on, off. And it just tells you like how much your solar is making if you connect the solar things. It's cool. Like this is obviously having this information available. It's useful because it gets you conscious about your energy use. I think which most people don't care. They don't like. You
Yeah.
can literally go up to anybody in the street and be like, "Hey, how much energy do you use during the day?" Like no one knows this.
Yeah.
There's only weirdos like us that would know, right? Like,
Yeah.
but it's not. I think you should. Like, if you put, you know, who should do it? Like, what's that temperature thing that everybody
Nest.
Nest. So
Yeah.
if Nest had a module that you can put these sensors and they would display it right there with your temperature,
Oh, that'd be
I
dope.
think that would be like a game changer because everybody would know what
Yeah.
their energy use was, and they'd be like, maybe I should change that stupid AC that is 25 years old and it uses literally twice what a modern one would use."
When you free the data, your mind will follow.
Yes, let's
That's
make
what
one.
it is.
I think we could totally make that. That would be a product. Except how would you get? I mean, obviously everybody got bamboozled to use one of those Nest things, right? Like why do people use those?
Well, it's funny. We got ours. Yeah, because I'm just a tech junkie and I buy everything. I've no.
But you're not the only one. It's a highly successful thing, right? They're everywhere.
Oh, huge. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, and then we got the cameras. I think Nest actually did a really good job with making a bunch of similar products. There's like home automation, smart home things, and making the user interface and just the whole thing work really seamlessly together. That's what I was really impressed with, and that's why I was like, even my mini split in here, I wanted to get a Nest inside of here just so it would show up in my other Nest app, like, so it would all be, everything's in there. But it didn't work out that way, and that's not how these things work apparently. So, so I didn't.
There's no integration.
Well, you have to. Okay, so the Nest itself is a couple $100. A device for the thing I have is called a Kumo Cloud, which allows you to plug a Nest into it, and then get it installed and wired up and all that. And all that's about $700. And I'm like, I don't need
a lot of money just to be able to,
Yeah, like just to be able to see it in my app, like,
you really want to. Yeah, that's a bit too much.
Yeah, like it just didn't seem like it was worth it, so I decided against it. But
wow, yeah. So I think we need to come up with something like that because it would definitely.
You need a cheap screen. That's what you need.
Yeah, with sensors, with like different sensors. I think I'm working on it. I think I have some guys that are in Mexico and they do this for industrial applications.
Yeah.
Where they literally put all these little sensors and all this machinery, and then they have it all aggregated into one software that tells
and you can
like,
tell what's doing what.
Yeah, well, how
That's
much energy? Because they run like plants and stuff, and they want to know how much energy that one machine is using. And so I'm like, hey, we could do this for like home. Like you can literally see what everything is using. Like in your panel, every circuit has the thing, right? So I'm like, oh, this is cool.
Yeah.
And I think they might productize it further for this application. So I'm like, dude, I can sell a ton of these.
Yeah, that'd be dope.
And so yeah, it's pretty cool. All right. So what about battery day? What do you think is going to happen? Do you have any predictions?
I think we're going to see a dry electrode thing, and I think all that means for the consumer is cheaper, lighter, longer range, maybe. But my guess is that all this shit's already installed. That newer S, I don't think Model X, but I think newer Model S, newer Model 3, and Model Y probably.
Why not X? You have the same modules.
Right. Well, I have data on it.
Unless unless what you're saying is the new Model S's don't have the same modules.
Yeah, well, okay. I'm not looking at the right chart, but I tweeted this out, and so with Tesla, we have data. We have like 30,000 cars, Tesla cars, and so we get to look at how people are charging, what people are driving, like all kinds of data. Really, really interesting stuff. Just to see, it's obviously not every car, but it's a good sample size of the overall Tesla fleet. And last I just checked, because Tesla had said a while ago when they introduced V3 charging that Model S and X would also be able to go up to 200 kilowatts. But they never did. Yeah, they never did. Not like zero, never at all did they. And just recently, they said, oh, by the way, S and X can now go to 250 kilowatts charging speed and V3 charging, full V3 charging. I'm like, dope. Okay. And I don't know unless they must have changed something in the battery or somewhere along the way. Something has to be new. It could have just been the charger maybe, but something is different that allows that.
I don't think you need. So I think so that would be, okay. Most modern Teslas are about 100 kilowatt hours, right? The battery.
Yeah. Model 3 I think is 80 80, and then I don't know what Model Y is.
Oh, but the Model 3s also can do those 200 kilowatt
Yes.
speeds. Oh,
Yes.
they do.
They were the first ones to do it, and then Model Y came out, and they also could do it. And then,
that's a different
and they
thing,
said the S and X could do it, but looking at Tesla, I'm like,
They never have.
like literally at the time, I'm like, we've seen 400,000 charging sessions from 30,000 Teslas, and never have we seen an S and X do above 150. You know.
Oh, I see.
And then now I just checked, and now the S has went up to 250, meaning somebody using Tesla charged at a V3 charger with a new Model S, and they got 250 kilowatts.
Oh, and you could see which model of the Tesla it is, so you know that they're not
Correct.
old Teslas; they're the newer Teslas.
We have pretty detailed data.
New,
Yeah, we can
Model
tell
S. Oh, okay.
every we could tell what kind of rims that car had that did it. But
Oh, wow.
it's just
Oh.
Tesla in their API has they spit out everything about the car at all times. So
Okay.
so anyways, yeah, so we could look at that. But the Model X has never done above 200. Now
Even new ones.
Yeah, it's the least most popular one in our app, but it's also the least most popular one out there. So I don't know. Like I've never seen a Tesla Model X in the wild do above 200 kilowatts. So anyways,
that would be slightly like 2-point-something C charging,
right.
which is totally capable in those batteries. No
Okay.
problem. Like the batteries can handle it. The fast charging is bypassing the onboard charger.
Okay.
Yeah,
Yep.
there's absolutely no reason why they shouldn't be, other than
So why can't
Software.
it do 500 kilowatts? Because
then now you're reaching the limit, of the cells.
and what is the
cells-
limit of the cell, like 3C or something like that?
Something like that, yeah. Typically, though something that's like an energy dense cell, it's about 3C. After that,
And-
they start getting too hot.
And what happens? Yeah, they get too hot, and I mean they'll explode, or like the
Yeah,
anode,
they
the
get damaged.
dendrite kind of thing, or something.
They get damaged, yeah. So you short out the cycles, or you shorten
Got
the
it.
cycles.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
that's what they're super conservative in that, because they have to know these cars have to go on for 200,000 miles, right? So
Right.
they typically don't do anything that's anywhere near risk. Like
Yeah.
they don't go below 3 volts, they don't go past 4.15, and they don't deviate that temperature I want to say like 2 degrees.
Yeah, it's always the
It's
perfect
almost like
temperature, yeah.
74 degrees, I think.
This
the
is
battery.
why, again, using Tesla data, we can see when the temperature drops below something like 35 degrees Fahrenheit, you can see efficiency just tank.
Drop,
And then when
yeah.
it gets above something like 90 degrees Fahrenheit, same exact effect. So if you live in a really hot place or a really cold place, at times your efficiency is just going to drop because the
your
car
battery
is
is essentially using all its available energy
Just to
to
stay
keep
alive.
itself at 74 degrees or whatever.
Yeah. So my guess is that there's some new battery tech that is already in these cars, and because remember the battery day was supposed to be in like May.
Yeah,
something?
It's late, right?
Yeah,
Uh-huh.
and we're talking September. I mean, so you can move an event real easy, right? You can just reschedule when you're having an event. But updating your cell production and your manufacturing lines and that shit, that takes a long ass time, and there's like hundreds of things that all have to work in unison. So my guess is that
Not for
whatever they
Elon, man.
announce is probably already in the cars.
You're saying because the aim was to get it here way before, and that maybe they didn't have 100%, and so they're like, well, whatever, just move it. But parts of it might be already.
Yeah, like I don't imagine you're like, okay, cool, we just got this brand new, module creating thing that packs the batteries and blah blah blah, for the new battery tech, and they're like, oh hey, we have to move the event out, so don't install it, just like fucking let it sit outside. I just don't imagine that's how it, you know what I mean? I imagine
don't
being
think-
like, cool, just go for it. Like we're just not going to tell people. But anyways, and that's when I see like, oh, hey, wait a minute. There you now charges way faster than you said was possible before, but you haven't. So clearly something here. I don't know.
So if there are cells that have less like internal resistance, then I would see how the engineers would be like, hey, we can push these farther. Like we can open it up to 200, 250.
Yeah. What do you think? Like, because this is like your jam. So for me, like, everyone says dry electrode, and I still don't fully understand what that means. But apparently it's lighter battery, so less weight or something like that, more energy.
I don't know enough about it to tell you the truth. I think the thing that comes to mind is it's safety. Every single time that I've seen anything about dry electrode is the fact that in lithium ion cells, what is dangerous is the electrolyte, because it's flammable. I mean, and so whenever
I put a screw through one, I've seen
it. Yes. So as far as efficiency, I don't know. I don't think it will add anymore. So I think there's a bunch of different things. Like if a battery is much more safe, right? Let's say that they do use, and there's no energy density gains, there's no power density gains, right? But you gain like twice as much safety. Then you're like, well, screw it. Let's just open it up. Like let's pull energy way much faster. They pull it out way much faster. Let's put more battery in it. So there's other things that could affect the overall performance of the battery indirectly.
That aren't, gotcha.
Like directly like that, those things, right? But I think with Elon, if I had to guess, I think it's going to be an incremental thing. I don't think it's going to be like some wild thing like
a solid state battery or something.
Solid state battery, or what they were saying, like the thing that they were they were scrutinizing, that announcement thing with the wire nanotechnology or whatever. I'm like, maybe I don't see Elon going with some weird thing. He's not his style. He never banks on wild technologies.
No, it's not wild.
He's always
what about the supercapacitor thing?
I don't see how he would be able to use that, because we don't need capacitors other than maybe using supercapacitor like manufacturing technologies. I'd see that, right? Maybe they're making batteries.
That was his big thing. I remember in the very earliest days, he didn't think lithium-ion cells were going to be the way to go. He thought that it was going to be supercapacitors. And then people since then have talked about having some sort of hybrid where, if I understand right, a supercapacitor can charge almost instantly and discharge almost instantly. So the idea would be if you could have enough of those to, say, when you do regen braking, capture a crap ton of energy, or when you fire it off 0 to 60, you can discharge even faster.
That would make sense if there was a lot of energy being lost in those, but I don't think there's any evidence to actually support that. Like,
they're super heavy, right? Compared to
they're big. No, they're big and heavy. They're not any.
They're not something you want for a car. Basically.
No. I mean, you would have like maybe 10 kilowatts if you were to put super caps right now, like in the
whole pack. Yeah.
Yes, it's like you gain like 1/10 or
I wonder if
10%.
There is kind of what you're saying about other things than just the cells. I wonder if there are ways that you could, let's say, cool the battery versus how it's currently done.
I think literally that's the gain that Model 3s have, those 2170s. Right? I think those are bigger cells, so there's less of them.
Yep.
And so that means that they're more efficiently cooled.
Right.
Right? Because now you're cooling the whole body as opposed to a bunch of them. There's a bunch of air. Like, those are not tightly packed on the thing. Like, the only difference between an 85 pack and a 100 pack was how densely they packed those cells.
Yeah.
Now, on that Third Row podcast, he did mention the fact that he was making modules in the battery pack because he thought he was going to be able to service them. But he's like, well, we never service any battery packs, so we're those kind of like a useless design.
Got it. Yeah, so you could kind of bail on that whole idea.
One giant solid
and save 20%.
Yeah, so that means you can put that much battery in there. So like, I don't know if you've seen the inside of the packs, right? They have all these channels that they're separating and stuff. And like, those could all be cells.
Yeah.
Well, you would literally be able to.
and you could do it either way, right? You could have a longer range one with more energy, or have a cheaper one by eliminating some of that, by having less. Well, actually, you would still have the same amount of cells. So I guess it probably wouldn't probably be much cheaper if you didn't remove the cells as well. Yeah, because I keep going, and Elon commented on that. I keep going with like, the thing we need aren't. I mean,
more
like,
battery. We need more infrastructure, I think.
well, like I love the idea of an EV that can go 0 to 60 in 1 second and can go on 1,000 miles on a charge. I love that idea, but that is not at all what the world needs. The world needs a $20,000 EV that can go 250 miles on a charge. That's what the world needs. The world needs a reasonably affordable and super functional car that will just shift people's thinking. Like, so.
Hey, and that's what's the Chinese made lithium iron phosphate models are going to be,
They're cheaper, right? Yeah.
Cheaper, but they have less range
energy,
because those are less energy dense.
Yeah.
So how credible is that? Like, that's a confirmed thing that is happening? I've been reading a bunch of stuff, but I'm like,
I don't know. Yeah, because that was the battery supplier announced it, but Tesla never said anything, right?
Yeah.
Or did Tesla say something? I don't remember.
I don't know. I
it's
don't
hard
think
to follow.
so. I'm surprised. And so I've also read another article recently that said that lithium iron phosphate is going to make a comeback. It's going to overtake lithium ion or lithium cobalt oxide chemistries in storage.
Oh,
in the
because
next
it's
10
so much
years.
cheaper, right?
It's not cheaper.
Oh, it's
right
not.
now, currently, it's not cheaper because it's so much less produced. Right,
Oh,
so it's
right,
maybe
right,
it's
right,
like 1% of the production.
All these efficiencies are built around the other one.
Yes.
Yeah.
Right.
I still think for storage, I think other versions of that, like a gravity battery. Have you seen that?
Yeah.
I love the
we could
idea
totally
of
do it.
like just more natural kind of things. I just think it's something really fascinating about how you can
A mechanical battery, with the weight. You just put a bunch of weights, you lift it during the
Yeah,
day,
yeah. So the
let it go
sun
down.
comes out and it lifts all these weights up, and then when the sun goes down, it slowly lifts them down, and as it's pulling it down,
is
yeah.
generating.
I think there's some really fascinating stuff.
I don't think it's very. That's not very. Well, I guess if you don't need the energy density, it's you definitely need, like, in order to do what your Powerwall does, you probably need like a whole room like this with full of weights to gain that kind of efficiency.
Right.
To do that kind of. So that's
Well,
the thing that I was saying. Like, people don't realize how much energy is on modern batteries. Like, that's a ton, like 100 kilowatt hours worth of batteries. Like,
It's a ton.
that's a lot of energy.
Yeah.
That's like.
I mean, I think we
amazing
use like
amounts.
25, 28 kilowatt hours in a day at our house.
You're
And
actually
so,
below the average.
oh really?
I think
Yeah.
average is 35. I think.
Okay, yeah, it might be closer to 30. I don't know, but it's not a ton. But I could easily run my entire house off of like one of my cars for 3 days.
3 days, definitely.
You know what I mean? And it's just like, I don't think people realize that, and that's why like the Powerwall is cool, but it's still it's just weird. I guess the price is vastly different, but vehicle to grid is still probably my biggest hope for
I think
something.
it has the potential to be very effective.
I mean, so you buy an electric car, and it's a dope car, and it does all these cool things, and it's a fun driving experience. It's cheap, no maintenance, whatever, and it's a battery backup for your house. Like, how amazing is that? You know, like, it's both of those things. I think people, and then by the way, you can just recharge it from solar panels, which are dirt cheap nowadays.
They're cheap, and there's surplus of energy at least in states like California. I don't know if this is happening anywhere else, but I know this problem is unique to California. But
Yeah. Well, I love the idea of just independence and freedom. It's funny. It's like the conservative in me is like, yeah, damn the man. You know what I mean? I don't need your grid. Well, I don't need your whatever. Like, there was there was a party in Malibu or some shit, and they were like going to shut off the power in LA. I don't know if you saw that. And I'm like, these guys just need power walls, and they can just say fuck them. Like,
dude, I was always gonna make a video when I heard that announcement that they were gonna shut water. I'm like, I'm gonna make a video showing you how to build your own thing and then party out, you know.
And I got those hydro panels, right? So like,
oh, that's right.
All the water we've been drinking for the past, I don't know, 5-6 months has been generated from air, from humidity.
Really? Let's talk about that. How is that working? Is that
It's
legit?
great. Super legit. So they're pretty big. They're actually really big, and they're pretty loud. I would say those are the
Okay.
two negatives.
Uh-huh.
Because it's like there's two of them, and they're about 4 feet by 8 feet, the panel. And on top of it, it has 3 sections. In the middle, it's a solar panel. On the 2 sides, it's what they call the hydro panel. It's like this
It's an
film.
vaporizer or
It's like a
right?
film, and then they have a fan and this thing in the middle that takes in air, and it like raises the dew point inside of there to where it collects the water on the film, and then that goes into a little bucket that has like UV filters and mineral packs and all kinds of shit to make it like drinkable. And then these two things are daisy chained together, and then they just have a line that runs, from my roof into my house where I have a little water spigot. And the cool thing, the hack, the really special thing about this, because it's basically a dehumidifier in terms of what it does, but
Yeah.
dehumidifiers require a shit ton of energy.
Yeah.
And these are not plugged into anything. Like they literally are just sitting there.
They're
So
standalone. They're
yeah.
self-sustaining.
So we were looking to do this whole off-grid property, and that was going to be how we got drinking water. Was just like pop 2 of these, and they're $2,000 a pop, so they're not even expensive.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So yeah, so all of our drinking water for the past 5-6 months, I guess, has come from there. And we did tests too because we have a reverse osmosis system we installed,
Yeah.
like a filter system, just from our San Diego water, and we did a test on that versus this, and this shit like doesn't even register on all the like pH, alkaline, all that stuff. Like it just like is like you did nothing. The stick is like it's like you didn't even do anything to it. And then we do it on our San Diego, our filter system, our reverse osmosis system, and it's like, yo, this shit's gonna give you kidney stones. Like this is no fucking joke.
Really?
Yeah, so I sent it to them, to the company. I'm like, hey, I did the test on the water, and they were like, your system may be broken because you're borderline alkaline water, which like, some people will have discussions about, but there's not really any hard science showing heavily alkaline water is good for you. So anyways, so it's, it's like pure as water as you could get. And yeah, I mean, we paid $6,000 for the whole thing, which included the 2 units and the install and all that. And yeah, it's been great, man.
That's crazy. So, do you know there's that big? So I saw that in like a Wired thing, I think, right? That's
Yeah.
the first one that did a thing.
Verge or CNET
The
or
Verge.
somebody? Yeah.
Verge. I think it was The Verge. And then you know that there's a big YouTuber that is he's made a whole career about bunking a bunch of stuff, right? I
Yeah.
think
Yeah, the Thunderfoot guy, right?
And he totally did one. And I remember
Yeah.
watching it and going like, oh, maybe he's right. I'm thinking like,
Now-
I don't remember kind of that feeling like the
It
guy
was
knew
just
what he was
about the
talking about.
cost, wasn't it? Because I remember him saying, oh, it's a glorified dehumidifier and it's too expensive.
Yeah, but it's not too expensive. Not if you can set it up and if
So,
you can, I mean,
the-
like I could DIY something way cheaper than that.
Yeah.
Now, do I want to? I don't know if I want to experiment. And it's like people usually, I think.
Well,
people,
and you're talking about drinking water. It's like something.
Yes.
It's not like you're, oh, my light didn't work because the battery wasn't set up right. Like no. This is what you're putting in your body.
Yes.
Yeah, no,
So
I saw that video too, and I mean, I think he had other than him just kind of being a idiot, like in terms of how he presents things.
Yes.
I mean,
he's
it's
made a whole career of debunking stuff,
It's-
but it sometimes don't need to be debunked. He's like, I don't care. I have to debunk it because that's my gig.
Yeah, but yeah, and I think as a content creator, like we both are, I don't have any bad. I don't look at him as like a bad person because of how he makes YouTube videos. I look at him as like that's your brand. Like
That's his brand. Yeah.
yeah,
So
you
you have
people
to
get
look
really
at it
caught
with
up.
that.
Yeah,
Yeah,
so
yeah.
I'm like, cool. So, but looking at the points he made, I thought they were pretty valid. The thing to me, though, was the cost. He was saying something like, well, rain catch is cheaper, and you can just drink rainwater. And
Whoa,
and
I don't
and
know.
and then
In the city.
and then what was the other? Well, no, but that was the thing is rainwater, like if you're going to off-grid, rain catch is a totally valid way to do it, and you
Oh,
can't
yeah,
drink it.
If
But
you're
but,
out there in a rural area, yeah.
but there's two
Yes.
there's two problems with rain catch. You either have to have a mega, like we're talking 10,000 gallon reservoir thing, or it has to rain a lot. So one of those two things have to exist. And I'm looking at it going, I guess, dude, like I could also like walk everywhere and not have a car, and that would be cheaper. Right? Like
Yeah.
what like cars debunked. You know,
Yeah.
who needs a car? Like
A
what
job?
the fuck? Yeah.
Who needs
Yeah.
a job? I mean, I have a
I can
brother
just-
that doesn't have a job.
Yeah, I can just live on the beach and like just eat scraps like a pigeon. Food debunked. Like, but you know what I mean? So a lot of his points were like that to me. I'm like, okay, I guess you could do that, but that's stupid. But anyways, in the end, if we wanted to buy bottled water, which is what a lot of people do, even if you wanted to go like fill up the jugs for 25 cents or whatever, like over the lifespan of these things, you will be spending more money on the other water than this water. So it turns out like, I mean, it's not like certainly I think a lot of people are just, they're poor. They look at something and go, $6,000 for that. What? You know,
Yeah.
but if you own a house, I can tell you right now, $6,000 ain't shit.
Yeah.
$6,000 is like, oh fuck, this thing broke that you didn't even know was there, and that cost you $6,000. So like looking at it as like, oh, pure drinking water, secured, like you look at Flint,
Regardless
Michigan,
of,
you know,
what's happening. Yeah.
Flint,
Dude,
Michigan still doesn't have drinkable water. They're still
Yeah.
trucking in water to Flint, Michigan. I mean, so anyways,
Well,
for-
there's a lot of examples of people don't have water, like
yeah,
like South Africa, right? Had a really bad
Yeah.
time not getting money. But I don't know if you know this, like San Diego has the hardest time
yeah,
acquiring water rights. They're literally paying money
yeah,
for black water
yeah.
rights.
Well, it's ridiculous. Like the water quality here is terrible down in San Diego, and
That's
you know
'cause they
that.
pay black water.
but
treat it.
also in researching for the video I did on that, so and this is where I have a research that I really kind of dove into it. 10% of Americans do not have running water.
Wait, what?
30 million people live somewhere without running water in this country.
What does that mean? They have a property out there
Like
in the hills that doesn't
Yeah.
have running water. So
no,
they
no,
have to
no,
go to a
no.
creek?
Like you do not have access to water that you can drink. Like maybe you could shower with it, but it's non-drinkable water.
It's not healthy.
And we're
Obviously, they're
talking
drinking.
we're talking 10% of America.
That's
This
weird.
rich ass country. You
Well,
know,
like a lot of people live in. There's a lot of rural area in.
that's
in
my point.
America.
So imagine, okay, and so a friend of mine, actually from the podcast, Joe, his mom lives out in rural Texas, and yeah, water's not a thing that exists out there, and so they're looking at it like, well, fuck, this is actually going to be way cheaper for us to install these panels than it is anything else. So I think like that guy Thunderfoot or whatever, is that his name? Thunderfoot? Thunderfuck?
I think.
What is it?
No, Thunderfoot. Yeah.
He I think he had some valid points if you're like a rich white person. So like if you're rich and white, then his points are valid. But if you're not, like if you live in a really rural, you know, black and brown part of the world or some poorer areas or whatever, dude, it's not the same story. And even if you are, you know, there's still like my buddies out in Texas, like it's fucking just doesn't exist. So I think that there's an application for it, and I think that video it's him being who he is. So again, I don't
Yeah.
fault him for being on brand, but I look at it and go, dude, there's people out there where this is really fucking helpful. Like the guys that installed my thing, they just got back from Colombia where they put 70 something of these out in a fucking field in this area where there's like indigenous Colombians were living,
Yeah.
drinking water and dying and shit because they were getting all kinds of diseases.
Yeah.
And so you look at it and you go, I think it's, you know, from someone like him, again, I understand that's his job and that's how he makes money. So I don't want to ever fault anybody for that. But it is bullshit to say that there isn't a good use for this technology.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Dimensional, because it's a unidimensional opinion.
Yeah. Dimensional opinions?
Unidimensional.
Oh,
Yeah,
unidimensional.
one dimensional.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So much of that stuff, right? Like it's like, hey, well, for me, that's fucking stupid. But you're like, well, think about a broader context. Like, what about people
Yeah.
that can't get water any other way? You
Yeah.
know, what do you do for them? Anyways, so we've been in love with them. We just bought a new house. Once we get over there, we'll probably get some over there as well. I just wish they were quieter. They're so fucking loud.
Oh.
So loud.
Really loud.
Yeah, because it's the
the
fan,
fan.
running. And
Yeah.
they even have a thing called quiet mode, but
Okay.
it's still loud.
And that produces less water, obviously. The quiet
Correct.
mode?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Each one, I think, produces like a gallon of water a day. So
Oh, okay, a gallon. Of water.
So
Each
for
one. So you have
two-
2 of them. You have 2 gallons of water. Yeah.
and we've got 2 adults and 2 kids here, so 2 gallons of water is plenty for drinking.
It's enough. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, that's.
You wouldn't do
pretty
it
cool.
for like showering and stuff, because people, I just learned about it, people use something like 17 or 19 gallons of water a day just for like
Yes.
taking
Yeah,
a
we're
shit
really
and
bad.
washing your ass. Like it's just not, it's ridiculous how much water we use.
Yes. And it's very apparent when you go to some little island or whatever, and the whole island uses an X amount of, and then some jerk comes around. I mean, some company comes around and puts a
Coca-Cola
a
plant.
resort. No, a resort.
Oh,
You know,
yeah.
where people just go on vacation there, and they're using like all of the water, so all the locals don't have any more water.
Yeah. Well, dude, in India, that's a problem. Like, I remember the protests for the Coca-Cola factory in India.
Oh, yeah.
Because, like, literally people are dying from shitty water, literally. And they're coming there, using up all the good water. And on the government side, they're like, well, we need to make money, so screw you guys.
Yeah. Nestle, right? Nestle also.
Oh, was it Nestle?
a big-
Yeah.
Well, I think Coca-Cola is owned by Nestle or something. Like
Yeah, it's one of those things where I look at the technology and it's like, to me, it's magic. And I've used it for 6 months now, or I don't know, 5-something months, and I'm
That's
super
pretty
impressed
cool.
with it.
Yeah, that's awesome. You've made videos about it.
I made one, and I got a lot of those Thunderfoot people going, "Puh, I could just go outside and open my mouth when it's raining. I don't
Yes,
need
that's
running
true.
water in my house. I'll just go outside in the rain and take a shower. I'll just go down to the beach and shower there. I don't need to,
True that. All those are true.
Busted. No
Just-
one needs a real house. You can just
No
live in a
one
tent.
You can live at the beach. Look at Lost. Those people lived in the.
By the way,
Hawaii.
random. Have you seen all those dumbass videos of there's some dude that does these pranks, and there are people at the beach with shampoo showering.
Yes,
Have you seen these?
Yes.
Dude,
They're hilarious. The big guy. The one with
Yeah,
the big
yeah,
guy
yeah.
that was getting all angry. He's like, oh.
and
That one was
you know
funny.
they're just actors that are paid. And the funny thing is, though, me and you're a Californian. I'm looking at it going like, who the fuck brings shampoo to the beach? When was the last time you went to the beach? Like, hey, honey, make sure you have our body wash and our loofah. What?
No.
Who?
No.
The whole premise there. I'm watching those, just like,
Yeah. There's some that are obviously so fake, but there's some that are clever like that. It's clever.
yeah. I'll
You're
give
like,
it to him.
I guess it could be possible. I guess,
It's a funny
some
video.
weird
It's
guy, whatever.
yeah.
The
All in
reaction
favor.
wasn't way over the top. Like, I would probably be pissed off if I couldn't.
It would be funny if he did it to people that didn't have shampoo. Like, you just go up and then someone starts pouring shampoo and you're like, what the fuck is this? Like, what is happening right now?
Yeah. Well, yeah, man. Hey, so you're still doing the podcast with
Yeah.
your buddies there? I think
Yep.
we've reached out to one of them, right? Who? What?
I just talked to Tim right now.
Oh, Tim. Oh, I guess he's having a conversation with Tim right now.
There you go.
I guess we're gonna have him on.
Yeah,
we
Tim's
can
a great
talk
guy.
to him about the SpaceX stuff, like that ferrying, that video that he released recently last week. That was amazing.
Didn't that
It's so
shit
crazy.
does not look real, right? It looks so fake.
No,
And I keep
No.
looking at it again and again. I'm like, I know it's real, but goddamn, like,
no,
Like,
that's a giant net. The
I
scale
know.
throws it off. You're like, oh, it's like a little net and this little thing. You're like,
Yeah.
what is that? Like,
Yeah. I mean, I went to the Falcon Heavy launch where I literally saw them land right in front of my face. And I still was like, what?
yeah, that is
It's
pretty
mind blowing.
crazy.
Tim has the coolest job.
Yeah, and he's growing, right? Like, he's just hitting it out of the park. Oh yeah, let's talk about the fanboys.
Okay.
Okay, so the
Do
fanboys.
we need alcohol for this? Let's do some shots.
No, tell me about what you think about because we had Car Guru, formerly known Car Guru.
I love that you're calling him that. Yes.
I'll get him in trouble.
Ah.
Car Guru, we
Uh-huh.
had him on the podcast here, and then we totally screwed it up we didn't record it in two sources and the one original. So, anyways, we just wasted an hour of our lives just talking. It was a really good podcast. He was pretty much explaining that whole thing that went down with this
Where
audience.
he is. Yeah.
Yes, I'm like, and then it got worse because after that, then that's when they kept pulling his videos down.
Right. Yeah, they pulled 2 of them, I think, right?
2 of them. So one of
I
them
don't
had already
understand
started. It's your people, man.
You're not talking to me.
It's your people. It's your.
What you
your
mean, you people?
Your Tesloids. You're in that clan. Come on, you're.
I'm not though.
No?
I,
How many
I
Teslas
would
you own?
I would venture a guess that the hardcore Tesla fans really hate me.
Oh, really?
And yeah,
You feel the wrath?
and probably the hardcore Tesla haters don't love me, but are like okay with me. My
Why
guess
do you
is
say
that
Oh, okay. I guess. Look, I know you personally, right? So, but to me, you're like, oh yeah, this guy who's excited about Tesla.
I'm a
whatever, he's
fan.
like doing this
I
thing,
love
right?
Tesla. I fucking love it. Everything they do, their mission. See, here's where it gets mixed up. Okay, so I love Tesla because of their mission. Their products are incredible. You know, some are better than others. For example, the Model S is better than the Model 3, just so everyone knows that's a fact.
Ooh.
It's not
Oh,
even my
that's
opinion.
That's controversial.
I know.
Okay.
But
Yeah.
I love the company. I love their mission. I love their products. The CEO, I love what he's doing. I would arguably put him in the more of an unstable category.
Ooh.
I think he should hire a COO to run the business because he's a terrible business person. That he's stated, you know, that's the exact same thing. But they're not without their own faults. And
Yeah.
my job is to help get people excited about going electric and help them really kind of cross the finish line there. By the time maybe they didn't even know about electric cars and they found them through me or something. But usually my venture guess that a lot of people already like Tesla, they already like electric cars or something. Then they find my channel and then I rationalize it enough and show just the experience of owning them that it's okay. So that's where I'm at. I love the mission of Tesla, which is to advance the transition to sustainable energy. When Lucid puts out a car that is incredible, the specs are nuts. And like people are talking shit about, at first it was, we'll see what the real EPA rated range is. Like the people that got them their estimated EPA range are the same fucking people that do the actual EPA rating. Like it was the same test, same shit. So it's a compelling product, right? So I'm like, yes, Lucid, killing it. Ford invites me to the Mach-E unveiling. And I'm like, I go for a ride. I'm like, I'm pretty underwhelmed as a Mustang. I'm like, it's not a fucking Mustang, okay? Like, well, you
It's
guys
an iconic brand.
Yeah, I know. I'm like, you guys could
line,
make
yeah.
you guys could make a badass real electric Mustang, and I know you will, but whatever. But for what they did, I'm like, yo, this is a compelling car for the price, like $39,000. The interior, the storage, the range, like I'm stoked. And the fact that Ford is doing it, a major automaker that makes just fucking gobs and gobs of cars, and they're talking about Ford electric F-150. Like if they do that and pull it off right, like damn, yes, I'm super hyped. I get really excited about all of the everything is water under the bridge to me as soon as you have a compelling electric vehicle. Everything else I don't care about. GM, I know you killed the electric car, but you're making the Chevy Bolt. Let's hang out. Let's grab a beer. I like you. Okay? So most Tesla fans aren't that way. Or I don't want to say most. The fanboys that attack Rich and other people and whatever, that is where it exits from support for their mission and this transition to sustainable transportation and energy. It goes beyond that to blind fandom of a person and a brand, which is it's cult-like. It's the exact same shit. Like Apple is another one that has some people in that space. Like Apple legit makes great products. I talk shit on them because I've been in technology since before Apple was really doing iPhone or, you know what I mean? So I look at them and I kind of tease Apple fanboys, but I admit they make great fucking products, right?
Yeah.
Tesla, same way. They make great products, the mission, everything. But when a new company comes out and starts making a really compelling electric vehicle, or like the Ford Mach-E as an example, not even a new company, Elon praises them on Twitter, saying, "Great job, guys. I love that you're doing this. Let's keep this going." And somehow Tesla fans still get super pissed at anyone that says anything positive about anyone but Tesla. That's where it's just like idiocy. It's complete moronic cult behavior, which doesn't actually even help. Like when I say Elon's a terrible business person, that's me quoting him, right? I did a video about Tesla should hire a COO, and I put a quote where he was in there talking about, "I'm not good at business. We need to hire Sheryl Sandberg from Facebook." And I'm in the video going, "Yeah, I worked at Facebook with Sheryl. She's fucking fantastic. You definitely should hire her." And people jump on me like, "Oh my God, how could you? Elon's the greatest fucking person ever lived." You know what I mean? He's great at everything. You know, that's why he's been married 5 times, whatever. Right? Shit like that. Like, so you can't say anything negative or critical or even being excited about something else without getting shit on. That is where it's gone too far, I think.
Yeah.
You know, to
Is
me,
it getting?
yeah.
Is it getting worse? Or is it
I
getting
don't really
better?
know. I feel like I've shed a lot of them.
Okay.
When
yeah,
I
'cause
changed,
you rebranded, man. That means you turn your back on Tesla. It's,
yeah,
It's not like you're with us or you're against us. You know
Right.
those people. That's their mentality. So
right, yeah. Well, and like I did a review of the Porsche Taycan, which was a fucking incredible car. Like there
it's
there
not a
are
Tesla.
0 people on the planet that could do what I did with that car. Spend 10 hours with it driving through the Angeles Crest Freeway up there. Actually, pretty close to you, I think, isn't it? Anyways,
I think you passed through here. I saw the video. I thought, "That jerk
but
didn't
but
invite me to see it."
no one could spend that much time with that car like I did and not leave with a huge shit-eating grin on your face. You just couldn't. That car is fucking incredible. However, if you look at the comments from all the hardcore Tesla fans on my video about it, tons of hate. And in the end, you're going, guys, where is this from? Because it's not Tesla's mission. So you don't actually believe in Tesla's mission, and you don't even believe Elon when he says things like, "Congratulations, Ford." You know?
Yeah.
So that's where it's crossing a line, I think. But I don't think that's everyone. I think it's like the vocal minority. You know, it's very like Trump supporter-like, where it's like there are a lot of Republicans and conservatives that are normal, rational people, and then you have like the wacko, extremists.
On both sides, yeah.
These the hardcore Tesla fans are the same thing. It's like Trump supporters and hardcore Tesla fans are like lo mismo.
It's the same people, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
It's the same
people.
phenomenon of becoming an extremist, you know?
Yeah. And I think now, I mean, look, I think at one point Teslas were really expensive, and so it would weed out a bunch of people. I mean, not that I'm saying there's no crazy rich people, but usually there's less, I think. I think if you're going to be unstable or weird or whatever, then, you...
Well, or they're just not they don't care as much, right? I feel like
passionate.
The internet culture, it lends itself more towards younger people. And
so the Tesla ownership has broadened this year, right? With the Model 3s.
It's funny because there was always kind of I was actually really curious how this was going to work, right? Because when I got a Tesla, the Model 3 didn't exist. It was still 2.5 years away from being on the streets. I think, when did they unveil the Model 3? I think it was after I got my first Tesla. Anyways, but yeah, it was like not a thing, right? So to own a Tesla, that's why I never even considered one. I was like, that's too expensive for me. I'm not a rich asshole. I can't afford that. And then that's when I learned you can buy used ones. I'm like, oh shit, okay, this is actually not a bad deal. But then with the Model 3 crowd coming in, you're definitely getting a lot younger people that can now afford them. And Model Y, I mean, I guess Model Y is more expensive, so it doesn't really. But yeah, maybe more families and stuff. But certainly the demographics have changed overall. And I think there's even a little bit of clash almost. Like, you have the Tesla Motors Club people that have been around forever, kind of the old timers in the space. And you have all the Model 3 people doing this separate thing. And I don't know if there's really a clash, but it definitely seems like things have changed, in that space.
Yeah, and I feel like you guys are experiencing that. I'm on the outside of that. Like I own a Tesla, but I hardly ever talk about it, and I
Yeah.
never.
Yeah, do
I'm
you have like battery fanboys? They're like, Panasonic fucking sucks. Samsung. How could
Yeah.
you? You know?
Yeah. No, I mean there is some of that, but not really. You know, what I mean? Not to the extent where they're taking my videos down. It's such a weird thing.
That's mind blowing. I don't even understand how that works. I wanted to get away from that. I did not want to be a part of that, man.
Yeah, I think he thrives on it, right? He's killing it.
Oh my god, I love it. I love it. Yeah,
That dude started his channel like after I had
me.
like 200,000 subscribers. And he's like just shot way past me. I mean, he's going to reach 1 million probably by the end of this year or something.
I remember the first time I saw his first or a video where he had already rebuilt his first Tesla, and he went to charge it, and he had a smoke machine that he put in the front, and he was like, oh shit, and it like,
Yes.
dude, I was like, this motherfucker's gonna conquer the world right here. This guy
Yes.
is the
Yes.
best. I
Yeah.
love Rich. I even
He's a
for a
genius.
while, I was trying to pitch him a collab idea of, like, who was it? Not Andy Warhol, the comedian that Jim Carrey played. It's called Man on the Moon or something like that.
Oh, Andy Kaufman.
Andy Kaufman, yeah. Well, the whole thing where Andy Kaufman and the wrestler guy had a beef, and they
Oh,
were
that's
fighting, but they coordinated it. Well,
Yeah.
I was trying to pitch that to Rich early on. I'm like, yo, so why don't we do this thing where like we hate each other publicly and like we just make videos, like we make videos back and forth talking shit on one another, and people will eat it up, but really for us it's just like a very easy way to make a lot of videos. Just
Yeah,
be
to
like,
get-
here's what he said in that last video, here's what I say, and then just back and forth. Like,
yeah, that would have worked. I think that would have gotten a lot of hits.
Yeah, I
People
don't
love
know.
citing. He's awesome. No doubt. But I don't think everybody gets him, right? And I think that's the reason why everybody turned on him. He literally announced in my podcast that he was gonna go back to gas cars, and he goes,
Oh.
"Oh, I don't know, it's not gonna go good." And so I was like, "Oh, I guess you guys are hearing it here first." But we never published that. So then
Yeah.
he went and announced it in his thing, and that's the video that got
there,
taken down.
see, it's good. They would have taken your video down too.
They might have taken a video. I don't know.
But you know what's really interesting is that it's just a disconnect. It's the internet culture where a ton of people I get commenting on my videos don't own a Tesla. They never will, but they act like they're experts, right? They're just fans, and that's that's why I don't really pay attention to the comments at all, because I look at the
Yeah.
comment section as like that's where the community, that's where they can discuss and have conversations. If someone's trying
Yeah.
to reach out to me, there are other ways to try to do that, but in the comment section is not it. So I think you have a lot of that. But even Elon has retweeted a video of mine, which was critical of Tesla.
Oh, really? Wow.
Yeah. I mean, I don't want to say critical, but it was the video, I forget what it's called. It's called Is Autopilot Safe? And
I see.
and I go through some examples, because there's so many examples of like people being saved by Autopilot. And then I talk about, but look at these motherfuckers that got killed while on Autopilot. Or died, we'll say. You don't know exactly how, but and then we look at the data behind. All right, well, how, Tesla releases their safety report, how many accidents on Autopilot for how many miles they drive. Well, we do have data to compare it to from the NHTSA. Look at that, and then I looked at the NHTSA. I believe it's them or the IIHS. They put out a report on cell phone driving, and it's like it was this super in-depth study. It was like, I forget. I'll screw up the numbers, but it was like 17,000 locations. They had people like standing, looking at cars driving by, writing down every time they saw them on a cell phone.
Oh, okay.
So they did like this massive study on like how, and I'm like, well, with that, Autopilot's gonna definitely help you, right? Even early detection systems, which has nothing to do with Autopilot. Like I think Volvo came out with that early collision warning in like 2006 or some shit, like ages ago. But systems like that will definitely help people as we're becoming more and more distracted.
Yes.
But in the video, the final answer was like, it looks like we have a lot of positive signs saying that Autopilot will help make you safer when you're
Safer.
driving. But because of the way the data is collected and because we don't have exactly one-to-one comparable data, not apples to apples, you can't really say it for sure, right? And then you have other folks out there saying, "Are you kidding me? It's the safest thing on the planet. You're 1,000 times more safe in your car driving on autopilot. You should always do it 24/7, even on city streets, especially when children are crossing the street in front of you." Like, and I'm looking at it going, guys, what the fuck are you talking about? But Elon retweeted my video, and to me that was a sign of like, okay.
He agreed with
well,
your assessment of maybe the...
Yeah,
the
because my
state
assessment
of-
wasn't hardcore positive. It wasn't put blinders on, this is the best shit ever. It was, it looks good, but let's do some more studying. Which is kind of the worst climax for a video, but that's kind of how they all end up for me. It's
I mean that's an accurate assessment. You don't want to be. You want to be, positive thinking, right? Like you want to be optimistic or whatever, but you can't be over optimistic.
Well,
There's
you can
a
be
lot of
negative
people
too.
that are-
I've got a
You could
Nikola
be
video
negative.
coming out that's pretty negative.
Really? From Nikola, the truck company?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I haven't finished
don't
filming
put
it
that
yet,
out
but it's looking just at hydrogen, and
well, yes.
I still don't. No matter which way I look at hydrogen, and I try to
Doesn't make
find,
sense.
I trying to find a path. You know what I mean, like a running back through the. I'm trying to find a way that hydrogen will actually make sense, and I just cannot find it. And I've read everything, and even a friend of mine was there at the Nikola thing, and she asked the founder about it, and the answer to me was like, I still don't like. You didn't give me there's this new technology, and when we just push this and do this, bam, it works.
It's gonna go. Yeah.
It's so hydrogen is just a fool's. Just it doesn't and will never work.
Yeah,
So
I don't think so.
and saying shit like, "Oh, it's the hydrogen is the most abundant element in the universe," is like saying. It's like saying, "Oh, well, we don't need to worry about global warming because the average temperature of the universe is really low. I mean, space is really fucking cold."
Yeah.
Like that, it's complete. You're like, what? What does that have to do with anything? That's the same argument hydrogen people make all the time, and I'm like, do you guys even know what you're saying? It makes no sense at all.
Yeah. You still have to do work to get it, pressurize it,
Trash this
use it.
planet because there's so much space out there.
Oh, wow.
Right?
Yeah. All
The problem with
trash.
hydrogen, is the method of production emits more emissions than just burning gas.
And doesn't it use a bunch of electricity too?
A crap ton. Like that's the problem. Like you would need. I mean, maybe with all this excess solar we have in California.
Maybe, yes.
But then you also every time you start going down this path, there's just so many like, oh nope. So even if you have like, I don't know, like 5 megawatts of solar energy available, and you could just install that everywhere you want one of these stations, you also need like, ginormous reservoirs of water to get the hydrogen out of. Like it just doesn't make any damn sense. Like in the end, it's just not feasible. Like maybe in a coastal sunny area, I could see it being somewhat reasonable, which is like, Southern California, right? Yeah. But then in order to make that hydrogen available in other parts of the country, you'd have to like truck it there. Oh, and you can't make it from salt water. So so you have to first desalinate the water.
Make fresh water, and
then you have you have to put it through the electrolysis or whatever it is to generate. It's just fucking.
Oh, that's crazy. No, because you're like, if you have fresh water, you're making use the fresh water. There's a need for fresh water.
Yeah.
Especially in San Diego.
Yeah. or you could literally
then
just
you
like
could
have a
use the
solar
electricity.
panel. You could just have a solar panel and plug the shit right into your car and you're done.
There's much easier ways to do this. Yeah. It comes down to that, right? So.
Yeah.
All right. Well, should we call it there? It's 5:37. We've been talking for 2.5 hours. That's crazy.
That's how it is, man.
That's
Couple
how it
nerds.
is. And you're a pro at this because you do this once a week with your other podcast.
Yep.
You want to plug in your podcast and your channel?
Our Ludicrous Future is the podcast. It's on YouTube. olfpod.com is a great way to find it. And yeah, just Ben Sullins on YouTube,
And Ben Sullins.
I never thought of like another clever name, and I just thought, well, if I put up another clever name, I'll just get pigeonholed into something else again.
I think so.
So I'll just do my name.
I think you did a
who
great.
cares?
I think you did a great thing, which is putting your name.
When did you change yours?
I've always been Jacob Garcia. From the very
Oh.
beginning, I thought like I'm just a guy, so I'm like I'm just gonna name it that, right? It's the
Yeah.
same. It's the original channel. Someone just posted on the latest video that I uploaded. It's like, oh my god, this guy's been posting for 11 years. He goes, what a hero, or I don't know, something like that. He goes,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
Like, and I'm like, no way, I have been posting for 11 years.
You know,
Obviously, it's
mine,
been all kinds of different things.
mine's not 11 years old, but like if you look at when my channel was actually created, it was like when I had a Google account and I signed into YouTube once.
Yeah,
You know what I mean? So I think
That's
that's
why you have that weird number. I
Which
don't know
number?
if you know. I have a short URL for my channel.
Oh,
which
yeah.
is, YouTube/Jacob Garcia. But I
Yeah.
think you have like some weird number, right? Like,
Well, I have there's also like the channel ID, which is like some obscure character combo. But then mine was Ben Sullins Data Geek channel. That was like
okay.
when I first created it. It was like, oh yeah, enter your whatever, and I'm like, I don't know. And they kept making me add stuff to it, so that's
Oh,
how it
really?
got so damn long. Yeah, yeah.
Damn.
But
So
you know,
now
it's funny.
hopefully just,
I don't know if any of that shit matters at all, ever.
I don't know. I don't think so.
You know what I
No.
mean? Like, I look at all this stuff and you see YouTube experts talk about shit, and I'm like playlists is the thing people talk about a lot. And,
Nah. Yeah, that you make a playlist every day, then your channel keeps like.
well, just like you
alive.
want people to keep watching videos and you want them to keep watching your videos, so you put them in a playlist. Well, I looked in the last 28 days, I've got 4,000 views from people that are watching videos and playlists.
On playlists.
4,000
Yeah.
views. That's like the first hour of a good video for me. You know, it's
yes,
like.
yes.
But you'll
No.
literally go find hundreds of videos of YouTube experts talking about, oh, playlists, that's the thing. I'm like,
Yeah.
okay, not for
It's
me.
such a weird thing. I think if you're, it's like Casey Neistat, for example, it's a great example of someone that didn't follow any rules or any strategy. I mean, he had his own strategies, but not the common ones, right? Like
Yeah.
everybody was like, tags. You
Yeah.
got to tag your thing. That guy never, no tags whatsoever.
Yeah.
Then like, oh, the thumbnails, you got to put text and you got to like
Yeah,
do
yeah.
the thing. That guy never did it. All his thumbnails were striking images, right? No doubt. But he didn't follow all those rules. And he just was
The
killing it.
title.
That guy
The
was-
titles were the thing that I'm always surprised by. Because if I put a title that's like, this thing is awesome, no one's going to watch that. No one's going to, YouTube's not even going to show it to people. But that's like a title Casey would go with. Like,
That's the title that Casey would go with. Yeah.
and it, I think that's the deal is but it's a funny and interesting thing. So there's a friend I made through this whole YouTube thing. His name's Supersaf. He has a channel. He's a UK tech YouTuber, really great guy, really good at what he does. And we were having this conversation at CES a couple years ago. I think it was CES. And I was like, man, do you ever feel pigeonholed or stuck? Does it ever suck that like you can't just go make a vlog eating a sandwich and have people get super hyped on it? Like a Casey Neistat or Peter McKinnon. And he said, yes and no. Like, yeah, that, like I have a focus and I have to basically stay in this lane. Otherwise, no one's going to watch. But it being in tech, his whole content strategy is laid out for him. Like for me, I have a spreadsheet with every new EV coming out. And I've been reaching out to them, trying to get invited to their events and get info in advance of all these things. So that way, when the Lucid comes out, when the Polestar comes out, when all these other ones come out, like I've got content there. So on one hand, Casey has his ultimate freedom to do whatever the hell he wants, but also he has to come up with all of it.
Yeah.
Whereas
it's a burden also. Yeah.
Yeah, like whereas if you are in a specific niche, you just have to follow what's going on in that niche, and it's written for you. Like guaranteed the day Battery Day comes out, I'll have a video like minutes after it goes live, right? Shit like
Yeah.
that. So I don't know. I think being a vlogger and doing those things has some advantages, but
Yeah.
there's also some disadvantages. It's like
Well,
everything.
you know how early in this podcast we were talking about how at this stage in life you start prioritizing like your sanity,
health,
your happiness.
Yeah.
So that's the thing that I've been doing because I've been transitioning. If you look at my videos, I've been sucking lately. Like my channel's super underperforming, like never before. But on the other side is because in the last 6 months I've been spending a lot of time setting this place up, right? And
Yeah.
but I've been making more money than ever. Like
Right.
that the whole thing about being 50% profitable.
Yeah.
Just this month I'm like, holy crap! Like I reached
That's
the
great.
target. I
That's
wanted
great.
to make it like 50% profitability. And
Yeah, like, do you
I'm
think
like,
you'll make YouTube videos forever? Have you ever thought about that?
I think no, I don't. I don't think no, not forever. I think I will keep making videos for a long time, but they won't be with this drive. Like definitely, I had a ton of fun like 2 years ago when I was doing the branding stuff. Right, I was trying to brand myself and the thing.
Yeah.
And that was exciting, and I feel fulfilled and stuff. But I was not making any money, right? So I was really struggling. Now that I shifted away from that, and now right now I'm like, look, I'm getting older. I need to kind of set something that's, stable, and
Yeah.
when I get sick or whenever I, something, I need to have like a backup. And so now that I'm setting all these little businesses up to do that,
Yeah.
I think now it's going to open up for the freedom to just do whatever I want with the channel. Now it doesn't look pretty because people are going
Yeah.
to complain.
No, but I
But-
love that. Yeah. That's the great
You
way.
know.
So probably 50 or more probably 60 or 70% of my revenue for my business, which would include YouTube, is not from YouTube. It's from all my online courses.
That's right.
And-
so you have another thing set up. Yeah.
And I have like 33 online courses now or something like that, like a lot of them. And it's all passive stuff. They're all just generating by people watching or whatever. And I don't do anything for it anymore. And they're just coming in. In fact, I made a video on it. This was one of my like personal finance videos in June for one course that I made 5 years ago. I made $80,000 in that
Holy
1
crap.
month.
yeah,
and
that's pretty good.
I can't explain why or what the fuck happened. It's hosted on
Oh,
Pluralsight.
that was an anomaly?
Yeah, normally,
Oh, that was an anomaly.
normally it's about 10 grand a month. But so it's still great for something I did 5 years ago. But yeah, that was one of the things where I was like, holy shit. So it's funny because when I think about YouTube, I'm like, I guess that was part of the transition too. I was really hardcore, focused in an area, doing a thing, growing. And I got to the point when my wife was kind of asking me like, well, like, why are you pushing so hard on these things? And the answer was like, I'm helping people, which feels good, but it's also really fun. And and so as I got deeper into the let me make this a business that makes money, and I took a step back and said like, well, I'm still making way more money than we need to live on from these other things.
The other stuff,
Why don't I do what is YouTube does for, why don't I put in what I get out of YouTube, which is fun, and
Put
helping
more
people.
emphasis in that.
And yeah, not go like Neuralink things happening now or just happened or something. I don't care. I'm not going to make a video on that. But if it was back
Yeah.
in the day, or like the earnings calls, like I
you
realized
were doing the earnings calls. That's right.
I realized the Tesla earnings calls, like, other than they're exciting because Elon loses his mind on them, they're like, no one fucking cares. Like the typical consumer that even is looking to buy a Tesla could give a shit about the earnings call. They really don't care. Now, if Elon says, oh, by the way, it's going to be $3,000 cheaper, oh, that's an interesting, bit that will be relevant to a consumer. So I kind of refocused about like not just covering everything and trying to do it all and just being like, what really matters? So what is going to be the most fun and what is going to help people the most? And that's the focus for all of my videos now. You know what I mean? It's not what's going to make me the most money or, what should I be doing to be on top of the game or something like that. Like, I don't give a shit. Like, I make so much money off these other things, and I actually have a team of people working on that stuff now. Like, money-wise, we're good. Let's just have fun and do something.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So
And
it's
that's
like,
more sustainable, right? Like, because if you really think about what is going to increase longevity for you doing that a project. It's like if you're enjoying the hell out of it, I think you're going to
you'll just keep
it
doing
for
it
longer.
Yeah. Like I'm super into golf, and I played golf a lot when I was younger, and then when COVID hit, it was like the only outdoor activity we could do still. So I was like, fuck yeah, let's go play golf. And now my son, who's 5, is into it, and I'm like, dude, I want to make a golf vlog. Like, I want to go play golf. and do that
Yeah.
completely outside of my channel whatsoever. And people would probably be mad because in terms of sustainability, golf courses are generally not
There-
on, not
it's
on the good
not-
side.
It's not pretty. I
Yeah.
tell you, I shifted content wise in my channel a few times already, and it's never fun. If people just hate you for it, they're like, "That's it, I'm gonna."
Yeah.
You know,
well, but
they're-
I would be. I mean, I wouldn't stop what I'm also doing over there. It would just become more of like this is cool. I had fun doing this. I want to share this with you guys. You know?
Yeah.
kind
No,
of a
but they
thing.
still don't like it. They still gonna tell you that's
Oh,
not
yeah,
who
yeah.
you are. That's not what you do.
But I'll tell you what, if I get invited to all these fun EV company parties. If I get invited to the fun golf parties, I'm in. Like I don't give a shit if people don't
You're
like
in.
it.
You should do it.
I would do
And
that.
then the thing is that once you're doing that enough or whatever, like these, I'm putting them on my channel, right? And people were like, "Why are you starting a new channel?" I'm like, "'Cause I don't feel like managing 2 channels."
Yeah, exactly.
And nobody's gonna watch them over there. At least over here, some people are gonna watch them.
Yeah.
And it's taken about 10 episodes, but the audience is starting to find them. Like there's like comments now. It's like, "Oh, this one was great. Keep doing these because
Yeah.
these are." But it takes a little while because these are long format, who can
Yep.
sit there for 2 hours. And I know that people will sit there for 2 hours because I do that with other content, with
Yeah,
like
Joe
I
Rogan.
listen to Joe Rogan and stuff. I'm like, dude, that
Well,
guy,
we
there's
did
a time
that-
when nobody was listening to him.
Well, our podcast is like 2 full hours every week, and then we also have a highlights channel, which are just the clips of it.
Ah, that's
So it's
right.
like
Yeah, yeah.
little, because we'll
Which-
cover 20 stories or something in a
Yeah.
day.
Which one gets more views?
Oh well, yeah, the not the highlights one, the main one.
The main one, yeah.
Yeah, but the other one is gaining ground, I think.
It's gaining
And we were
ground, yeah.
just looking at it. The click through rate on the thumbnails is like double what the main channel is. So we're looking
Yeah,
at it.
because
going,
because it's so much more targeted. Like
yeah.
you
Like
got
when you see a
one
video
picture-
about one thing and it's 7 minutes long versus here's
Mm-hmm.
an episode with 3 fucking nerds talking about a bunch of shit for 4
Everything.
hours. Like
Yeah.
most people aren't going to click on that or go to that. So
Yeah, but for a little while I got into listening to you guys, and in fact, for some reason the algorithm stopped showing me the things. I guess I never
that's how it
never
goes.
subscribed to your channel, or
It
maybe
doesn't
I
matter.
did.
Dude, I don't
doesn't
even
matter.
know. I don't even know if subscriber count. Like, first off, it doesn't matter at all from a business standpoint, but I really don't think it matters even much in terms of view, like how much engagement you get. I really don't. Like, I've got a bunch of messages recently. People like, I'm subscribed to your channel. I have notifications turned on. I only saw this video because you tweeted it. Like, I went to my page and I looked through my subscriptions, and it's not there. And they have
Dang.
all the things turned on. So I'm like, is this whole subscriber count bell notification thing just a fucking rude? Like, it's just fake. It's just,
It's just a thing.
Yeah, it's just
like
like-
a target, a fake target to keep like people.
I
to
hate
going
the
at it.
obsession with subscriber counts too. But anyways, yeah, it's a weird thing.
I wonder.
man.
So, are we gonna have to start sending email blasts to our lists? You have a list?
I do. Yeah, I started
Yeah, I
that
have a
real
list
early
too.
on. Yeah.
Yeah. And so I never use it. It's weird because I pay that service. It's literally one of the most expensive services that I pay that I use the least. Because I
It's a
have
gym
like,
membership. It's like, you pay for it and you never go.
Yes.
Like, no,
And-
I started doing the email. I even do an email newsletter once a month where I actually sit down and write.
okay.
Yeah. So, but otherwise, every single week, every video goes out.
Wait,
Sometimes
so you
I'll-
send it? You send the notification via email?
yeah.
Oh, I need to start doing that then.
Well, it's not as
Maybe, I don't know.
So okay. So my channel has like over 200,000 subscribers. My email list is like 25,000 subscribers or so, which is
Okay.
actually pretty good.
Yeah.
And then if you look at the open rate, how many people open an email, it's like 35 or close to 40% for me, which is really incredible.
Really high.
Yeah. But then the
I know
click-
because I hit 45 on last month's email
Yeah.
that I sent, and it said it was above.
Yeah. No, that's
standard
fantastic.
Industry or whatever. Yeah.
I think industry average is like 22 or 23%. But then the click-through rate of people that actually clicked to go watch a video was like 16%.
Oh,
so
I see.
so when you whittle all that shit down from 25,000 people, you're talking like a couple thousand people maybe.
Yeah.
So
Yeah,
you're like
I said worth it.
I like doing it because I like having that direct relationship with someone. But
Yeah.
in YouTube terms, it doesn't really bear fruit. It doesn't really,
Yeah.
This was like
there's no like hitting the recommended thing. That's definitely
that's
the
it.
king.
That's like search engine optimization that people do in YouTube videos and stuff. I'm like, dude, good luck. Like 8% of my views are from search. It's like so small.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So
Yeah.
much of the things, it's like the only thing that matters is whether or not YouTube recommends your video.
Yes.
And
that's
all
a
you
big
can
mystery.
do, yeah.
You just guess how you're gonna.
All you
hit
can do
that.
is make a really compelling title and thumbnail. That's it.
Yeah.
That's the only thing. If you can make a really awesome title and thumbnail, and then when people click, deliver on whatever that title and thumbnail was, and they end up watching, then you've got something. But outside of that, I look at like every one of these little hacks and things people want to do, and I'm like, it's kind of pointless. You know what I mean? Like posting a video on Instagram and saying like click link in bio to go do it. That'll get me like 50 people that click through.
Yeah.
And I'm just like, what the fuck? That wasn't worth the effort. You know what I mean?
Yes. Yeah, I'm in the same boat as you. The thing is that I'm like, I stopped chasing views.
Yeah.
Sometime like, I don't know, 8 months ago or something. And I started optimizing my stuff so that it could generate sales.
Yes.
So I'm like, I'm happy with my 10,000 views.
Your business is great.
Yeah, I'm like 10,000 views turned into like $20,000 worth of sales. I'm like, I'm fine.
Well,
I
that's
don't
the thing
need to
people
get
don't really understand is that you don't have to have a bazillion subscribers or views to have a legit business.
Yeah, you just need hardcore. You just need people who actually buy your stuff.
Well,
you have to have good margins on it.
And that speaks to quality, right? The quality of the audience. Like when I talk to brands, depending on who the brand is, they may not understand. Like they look at my subscriber count and go, "Oh, okay, well,
Yeah, I'm in the same boat.
Look,
a sponsor here, Coldest.
Yeah,
it's not paying much, but I'm like, whatever. We need some brands to start, so we can start pushing, just so that other ones are like.
But the deal really is alignment. That whoever the sponsor is and who your audience are, if those two things work really, really well together, you can have a very small number of views, very small channel, but the brand should be paying out the ass because you're going to be making them so much money. I have a few brands that I've worked with which are pretty small in terms of like company size, but they email me all the time and they're like our business has fundamentally changed because of working with you. Yeah. And I'm like, great. It's good news that when I'm sharing a sponsor message that the people listening to it respond and they're getting a valuable result, right? And it works for everyone. It's when you have the big brands that just want to squeeze you for shit and they care about our views. You look at it and you go, okay, guys, like, yeah, I know you're going to try to lowball me on this, and then, I'm not into it. So it's kind of tough.
How do you do it? See, I had brands that I was a key, part of them succeeding and stuff. And then one day they just, turn the faucet. They're like, yeah, we don't need you anymore, kind of thing, And
long-term
like,
contracts,
whoa.
man. You need longer term. Like Marquez has D-Brand and a few of these others that he calls channel sponsors.
Oh, yeah.
So I think the way that works is you'll sign kind of like a yearly contract. Yeah. And you can have a deal like, I'm not going to use any other phone case or anything except the one you make. That's it. You'll never personally see me with one. You'll never see me in a video with one. It'll always be your shit.
So that's one strategy. So I actually, because of that happened, that's why I set up my shop and now I'm selling my own
good
stuff. Because I'm like, well, if you're just going to decide one day that you're not going to give me the sponsorship, or because it was big money now, right?
Yeah.
Because again, every video that I would make, it would generate $100,000 worth of sales. Yeah. For a battery thing or whatever, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so then I was getting a cut off of that, and it was kind of a big cut, and it was big checks every month. But then, when they're like, well, we can stand on our own now. That's the thing about these brands, that they can stand on their own after you make them famous. Then it's just
Yeah, I mean, longer-term deals, more of a brand partnership kind of a deal, I think is a really good way to do it.
Do you siphon like a lot of your traffic to your website? You have Teslanomics.com. Is that a thing now?
Yes and no. I mean, I try to, for YouTube, I try to keep people on YouTube. I just try to keep them on YouTube watching YouTube.
Yeah.
I don't try to get them off YouTube at all. I do have bensullins.com, which I've had for years, and it's where you can sign up for my online courses and emails, and every video goes there.
See, that's
all
where
these
I'm doing
things.
wrong, because my thing is like every single video has a link outside. I'm like trying to shove you somewhere else. Go buy
Well,
the thing,
but
and it works for
you're-
me because
Yeah.
people are doing it,
Yeah,
But
like
now I'm trying to build a website that can stand on its own. So like say one day I start making videos, like if Google is already ranking high on Google, then those sales will keep going.
That's hard. I don't understand that business at all about search engine marketing, SEM. It's tough, man. I don't know. YouTube's the only thing that I've ever had any success at getting
me
a
too.
fair amount of attention. Like on Instagram, I don't know what I have, like 14,000 or something, which to the average person probably sounds like a lot, but in Instagram terms is like nothing. And then Twitter, I don't even care. I just rant dumb shit at Twitter all times. Like, I don't know, man. Like
Facebook, that's me. That's where I dump all my stupid ideas.
I deleted my Facebook a while ago, or I deactivated it or whatever. And then I had to go, we did a video, about the $80,000 in a month video. And we wanted some backstory about me not knowing I'm just I'm not some rich asshole. Like I grew up super poor. And so I had to go pull some old photos. And of course, everything is on Facebook. So I went and reactivated it. But I don't even think I have a page or whatever on Facebook.
I said it. Nothing works on Facebook. Everything's like pay us money or we won't push your stuff.
Well, and I have a friend, Rachel Farnsworth, that's on there, and what's it called, the Stay-at-Home Chef, and she fucking kills on Facebook, like kills, dude. And I went to this presentation she did, and she talked all about it, and I went and implemented every single thing, to the letter, and in the end, it was just like not worth it. You know what I mean? Like I feel like you just have to be dedicated to whatever platform. And it's really hard to do all of them, and usually you see that, right? Like some people, like they fucking crush Instagram and then YouTube is like, or vice versa. It's hard to see. I don't really ever see people that are just like, because if you're just crushing it at everything, then you're just a celebrity at that point. You're just like,
you're that kid. What's the guy's name? David Dobrik?
Oh, yeah.
Dude, that dude stopped making videos over the pandemic.
COVID. Yeah.
And then he went to TikTok, and he was killing it in TikTok. Apparently, he's got more followers in TikTok now than in YouTube.
TikTok's an interesting one. I like that it's so easy. You literally just with the phone, and bam. And somebody like him, because he's already such a huge star on YouTube, he's just going to go there and absolutely dominate from day one. That's a smart move. And it's way easier. You could put out 10 TikToks a day for like half the time it would take to make one YouTube video.
Yeah.
Yeah,
that's cool. I never done it, so I don't know. Yeah, it's definitely for me, YouTube's been the most successful, and so I'm kind of sticking with it.
Yeah.
But I'm definitely trying to siphon some of that traffic into my website because it turns into sales. But also, I'm trying to digitize like all the video content that I've done into like text form so that then that could have a little bit. I don't know. That's just one of the.
I actually hired a copywriter earlier on, and I would because I would script my video, not word for word, but almost word for word, like bullet points kind of style.
Bullet points?
And then I would go do the video, and then she would get my bullet point stuff and then the transcription that like rev.com would generate, and she would write an article, right? She would like turn that into an actual like readable blog. And then we would post the video on the website with the blog.
Okay. On your website.
But when I'm looking at traffic and everything, it was like nothing. And I did it for like months. So it wasn't just like, I did it twice. It didn't work. Like, no, I spent a lot of money. I spent a lot of time. It just in the end was like, this doesn't work. So
yeah. So that's the same thing I'm doing with this podcast too. Right now it's costing me money to set this stuff up and, But I'm like, who knows? In the long run, maybe it works. I don't know. If I get good at interviewing people, if I get interesting
Well, I'm glad to be here in the early days.
I'm starting with the most interesting people that I know. That's why you're here,
Well, I appreciate the invite, man. I do.
Well, I appreciate you coming and saying yes, even after all the ignoring that you did. But no, just kidding. Thank you for coming and spending some time and talking about
Absolutely,
stuff.
man. and
Yeah. We'll
let's
get
go
together
get a beer
after this
sometime
year
when
is
we can.
done. I think once 2020 is gone, right? 2021.
Let's do it.
I think 2021, and we're able
Maybe.
and allowed to do it.
Yeah.
I
let's
think
go.
that's the official word. So I'm going by that. And yeah, I'm gonna have to have you up here because I want to show you my shop.
Yeah. No.
I haven't even shown it to anyone. That's my biggest accomplishment with the last 6 months. I haven't even made a video about it.
I know. I see his Instagrams. I'm like, yo, what is going? Jehu's like killing it. Let's do this. So yeah, let me know, man. I'll come up anytime.
Yeah, man. We'll build something. We'll do something. We'll go around on the sambas down there. I don't know. Whatever. We'll do something.
Yeah.
All right.
I want to make my golf cart thing. We'll do that.
Yeah, we'll do the golf start. You know, we'll cobble up some batteries. We'll make it
Some
spin
duct tape.
tire. We'll make it as dangerous as possible. I mean, as fun as possible. Yeah, man. So thank you for joining me. Stay healthy. Stay busy.
Igualmente.
Stay happy.
Y nos vemos pronto.
Yeah, we'll do it. All right. Thank you.
Bye, man. Adios.
Okay, bye.